Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start in about 30 seconds. If you have any cell phones you need to put on silent or vibrate, now would be a great time for that. Good evening. This meeting of your Pontiac City Council for January 30th, 2024 is hereby called to order. For this evening's invocation, we give the floor to Councilman Parker.
Thank you, Brother President. This evening, and good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope everybody had a great day. Hope you managed to get through the snow safely. For those of you who wasn't traveling in the snow. This evening, our invocation will be given to us by Pastor Kathy Lee James of Eastside
Church of God.
Eastside Church of God.
Good evening. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time that you've given us to come together to exercise ourselves in the business of this city. As we come, we thank you for your blessings that you've bestowed upon us. And we ask that you would bless this meeting. We ask that you would bless each council member, those here and those on the way, those who are not here. We ask that you would bless our families, Father. We ask that you would bless the city, the employees of this city, and the residents and people of this city on today. We pray that you would give us all vision and understanding of what you want to see from this city. I know you have a vision for us, and we pray that we will be able to exercise ourselves in a way that we can carry out the vision that you have for our city and for us. We ask these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We join as a community to remember those that we've recently said goodbye to, neighbors that have passed away. We're reading now the names of those who we've learned in recent weeks, current or past Pontiac residents who have passed away. Jose Alvarado de la Cruz, Gabriel Bahena, Joseph Branner, Paige Clinton, William or Bill Dennis, Ernest Dotson Jr., James Finney, Mary Gibson, Jenny Gonzalez, Benita Goodell Fournier, Olga Guerrero, Jerry Lofton Jr., Janice Parent, Domingo Solomon Lopez, Harry Tatamy Sr., Susan White Ford, Thomas Wilson, Taya Wims, and Dieter Ziegler. Please join us for a moment of silence as a community. Thank you very much. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Carrington.
Present.
Goodman.
Here.
James.
Here.
McGinnis.
Present.
Nicholson. Parker.
Here.
Rutherford. Present. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Quorum being established, is there a motion to excuse Councilmember Nicholson from the meeting for personal reasons?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilwoman Rutherford. Hearing no discussion. Roll call on adoption of the motion. Clerk Doyle.
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford. 6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Is there a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilman Goodman, that we approve this evening's agenda. That motion is now before us. Could we please have a motion to Remove item number 2, Pontiac Arts Commission initiatives and updates.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Parker, that we amend the agenda to remove the second special presentation number 2 currently on the agenda. And that is because the Arts Commissioners would like to be able to come next week instead. So that will be proceeding accordingly should this motion carry. Any discussion on the amendment to remove that presentation? Hearing none, roll call, Clerk Doyle.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford. Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman. 6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We're now back to the main motion, adoption and approval of the agenda as amended. Any further discussion, amendments, clarifications? Hearing nothing further, speakers, this is exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle, on adoption of the agenda as amended.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford. Carrington.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The agenda is adopted and will proceed accordingly. For the consent agenda, is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilwoman James. This week's consent agenda has 3 sets of meeting minutes. The January 22nd Parks, Recreation, and Public Works Subcommittee meeting minutes, the January 22nd Law and the Courts Subcommittee meeting minutes, and the January 3rd City Council regular meeting minutes. Roll call on adoption and approval of the consent agenda. Clerk Doyle.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford. Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
Very good. That is approved. We are now at special presentation. The first special presentation this evening, we are joined by the Oakland County, from the executive team, Deputy Executive Sean Carlson from Oakland County Government, who's given the floor to provide us with updates and next steps as it relates to their property in prominent and important downtown Pontiac. Deputy Executive. You'll hit the button on the bottom right of the black device.
Okay.
Yes, it's now live.
There we go. Thank you very much. Thank you, President McGinnis, and thank you, council members, as well as the deputy mayor and the mayor of Pontiac. Appreciate the opportunity to present and give you an update. We're very excited about this project and this partnership with Pontiac and with Oakland County coming to downtown Detroit. And I just want to give you an update and some of the work that we've been working on since we were last here. I think that might have been in August. Since then, we have formally submitted our request for the $50 million enhancement grant from the state of Michigan. I understand that Pontiac has submitted their request as well. We're waiting for those funds to come in from the state of Michigan. They haven't quite gotten here yet, but we stand ready for those. Also, since that time period, we've conducted 10 construction management and developer meetings, encouraging developers, sharing information with all of the major developers in Oakland County and outside of Oakland County about this project and how important this project is. Also trying to garner some insight from them in regards to project development work that they've done in the past as well. This project is broken down really in 4 main components. The first component is an owner's rep, owner's representative, somebody that will act as the county's fiduciary and have responsibility with the oversight of construction management for 31 Judson. 31 Judson is Ottawa Tower 2. That is the building that the county intends to move into. 600-plus employees is what we're looking at. I know we had an MOU that said 500, but at last count, it was 600-plus. So we're working on that. We did hire the owner's rep. We went out for bid. There were 9 submissions. We deselected or down-selected to 4, had interviews with them, and we selected the, bless you, we selected the Farbman Group in regards to being our owner's rep. We also put a bid out on the street on October 17th. The solicitation was issued. It was closed on November 20th. There were 8 bids that came in for A&E, which is architect and engineer design that we'll need, community engagement, and urban planning. The A&E and the urban planning are specifically the A&E is, again, for that 31 East Judson building. We down selected to 5 bidders, and we went through that process. I'll be happy to share the names with you as soon as I share it with the companies. So we're not quite there yet. We have come to a consensus with the evaluation committee. We'll be doing a dual award for the community engagement, and we'll go to one vendor, and then the urban planning and the A&E will go to another vendor. Next up after that will be the construction management that we intend to put out, which is a request for proposal. Our timeline for putting that out will be in March. We want to have that out on the street for folks for 6 to 8 weeks. That's important. In the contracting world, it's important to send the message that this is wide open, and we're taking all bidders. And the property development is also what we intend to put out on that timeframe at the same time. So potentially teaming can take place. It doesn't have to take place, but it might offer us the best opportunity. When we look at property development, what are we talking about? What we're talking about is the demolition of the Phoenix Center. We're talking about a proposal that will build a new parking garage in its place, that it will find where is the appropriate place for that to be. Of course, the county and Pontiac will work together in regards to where that new parking garage will go and where the best place for that garage placement. We'll also be looking at the other vacant properties too in regards to the property development. The construction management will be basically the renovation of 31 Judson, which is, as I mentioned before, the building where all the employees will be coming down to. So the time frame for this, like I said, we're looking to get this bid out on the street in March. Hopefully we'll get those bids in middle of April. We'll then go into evaluation and hopefully be able to issue a notice of award at the end of May, beginning of June. And hopefully a demolition will start sometime in August or September is what we're hopeful for that process to start. So that's just kind of where we're at right now. I don't know if it's appropriate to take any questions. But I'm happy to share any questions. I do want to share one point, which I think is really important. During our presentations last week, when we were listening to the 5 different vendors that came in and presented, and they asked a couple of questions about the importance of this project. And we had different team members from Oakland County respond to that. But what I had said and shared with them, what's important for the Coulter administration, and I believe for the mayor and the city council, is that we see this as an opportunity to serve as a catalyst. Yes, we have a certain opportunity, and we understand from a downtown perspective where the building's going to go. But see it bigger than that. In regards to having the oversight for economic development, I'm having conversations about creating entrepreneurial hubs and renaissance zones here in Pontiac, of making the U.S. Center for Advanced Manufacture here in Pontiac. And so we're looking at this as not just a move down here, but a shift in thinking from the business community as well. So we see it as a great opportunity. And we're excited about it, and we said this is important that we do this in partnership, and that's why we put the community engagement RFP out. It's important for us to get the input from the community. It's important for us to hear what their thinking and concerns are as well, and it's important that we make sure that we're doing this with Pontiac, not to Pontiac. We want to be a good partner with the city of Pontiac, and that has been consistent in Executive Coulter's message all along and the Board of Commissioners. And I just want to reemphasize that we're partners in this. So,
Thank you very much for your time and the update. We give the floor now for questions and discussion. Councilwoman Rutherford.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for that presentation and for giving us updates. I only have two questions. My first question is, and I'll yield it to the president to ask you, is do you know the timeline when the RFP is going to close for the community engagement part? And the reason why I'm asking is we have people who feel like they may not have an opportunity to be a part of those talks and those discussions. We also have people who have desire to want to work with alongside with the council. So I wanted to know when that's going to close and if that job or those opportunities are open to people from this community to actually try to do the community engagement part so that we have a real partnership. So we have somebody from the city and someone from the county.
yeah, I mean, the community engagement piece was part of the evaluation process. So we are recommending, at least for our portion, we've talked to the city because we know that there'll be possibly community engagement opportunities even outside of the component that we're dealing with, and how we might be able to partner with the city on that from a community engagement.
So it sounds like you're very near a decision, so when you make that decision, let the council know, and that way, if there's community members that are interested early on in being partners or collaborators with whomever is leading that community engagement.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, second question?
My second question is, you stated earlier that the tear down is projected to look at in mid-August or September. Is that confirmed, or are you just waiting?
No, I mean, we're projecting right now. Bids haven't even come in on the property development, but we know that we're anxious to get moving. In order for us to move down, the parking garage needs to be down and a new one needs to be up. So that is serving as our catalyst to move things along.
Okay, and the only reason why I asked you to make sure you have clarity, because sometimes people try to misquote what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, are you saying this, or is it, hypothetically speaking? We want to, because people will try to twist what you said, and then it'll be all.
We're going to put it in our scope of services. I'm not sure what the demolition companies
Thank
are going to come back with.
Thank you, sir.
So once we have that information, we'll be back here to update you on what that schedule is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mayor Grimel, followed by Councilwoman James, Councilman Parker.
Yeah, thank you. I really just want to emphasize, and I've shared this with you, Sean, I've said it many times publicly, we are really excited about the county's investment in our downtown. This is a big deal. There was a time, as you know, when all of the county's offices were in our downtown, and beginning in the 50s and over the couple decades following that, there was really complete disinvestment by the county in our downtown, such that by the time the late 70s or early 80s rolled around, everything was out at the Telegraph campus. And what that did was it took a lot of county employees out of our downtown, and they weren't any longer here to help support restaurants at lunchtime or retail outlets after work. And so it really did have a really harmful impact on the downtown when those county employees moved out and when the county disinvested in our downtown. And thanks to you and the leadership of County Executive Dave Coulter and Chairman Woodward, you are reversing that disinvestment and bringing many hundreds of county employees back into the heart of our downtown, which, as you pointed out, is going to have a major positive catalyst benefit to the downtown, to development, and really help bring Pontiac's downtown roaring back to life. So I just want to thank you for the collaboration. Your working relationship with council and with my office is really valued, and I know you're putting in place important plans to do community outreach, to really hear from Pontiac residents what they want to see as part of this development. So we couldn't be more excited and pleased, and I just want to thank you for that partnership and for the county's investment in the heart of our city. As you know, as we rebranded a city logo, we also adopted a new slogan, which is Pontiac, the heart of Oakland County. And your work, the work of the county executive and the county commission chairman And our own county commissioner, Angela Powell, is really putting substance behind that new slogan as you, once again, are investing in the heart of the county, which is, of course, the city of Pontiac. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilwoman James?
Yeah, the residents of Pontiac, again, thank you for being here and thank you for the presentation that you've given us. But the residents are really, have a strong feeling about the entertainment center, at the Feeling Center at the top, you know, that portion. And I realize that that's going to be a part of your property development demolition plan.
Yes.
But I'd like for you to kind of go into a little more detail if you have it, or just tell us what that plan is in terms of the demolition. There's been some conversation that there may be, that we're going to salvage as much as we can of the equipment and stuff that's there, the seating, the theater. I'd like to have more detail about if we are in fact going to do that, if that would be a part of your demolition plan.
So that will be part of the RFP development that will go out in March. And of course, the community engagement, I anticipate will start in the March to May timeframe. So we'll certainly hear the feedback from the community. You're hearing feedback from the community, and we'll make sure that we integrate that in the proposals. I don't have any specifics on that at this point in time because we do not have bids in from those that are demolishing that
I guess the
building.
question I have is, as of now, are there any plans to salvage any materials from the existing entertainment space?
It's a great question. We haven't given that thought. We will now incorporate that into our thinking.
And it sounds like the mayor might have a further thought.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to emphasize is that the agreement between the county and the city requires at least 2 acres of the property there to be owned by the city for the purpose of a community space, a town square, a performance area. And that's an effort to make sure that even though the Phoenix Center parking garage as it's currently constructed will be demolished, that the city will still have city-owned property right there in that footprint that will be available for public performances, for a gathering space. We thought that was very important. The county was on board with that idea, and I think that creates an opportunity to recreate the sense of place that the Phoenix Center was always intended to provide, but actually do it at ground level, at a more pedestrian-friendly scale. And I think this is actually going to be a big plus in terms of having a sense of place, a focal point for the community that is actually more accessible and accessible day in and day out as opposed to just being accessible for special events. The county and the city will be talking, to be more specific to your question, Councilwoman, about the extent to which we want to preserve some of the infrastructure that's currently on top of the Phoenix Center as part of the recreation of that public space at ground level.
And that was what I'm just trying to clarify. Is it a to be determined situation, or is it something that is going to be a part of that
RFP.
property? Yes.
Yeah, we can make it part of the RFP, absolutely. We can put that as part of the scope and have people bid on what it would cost to salvage that versus if they were not to do that. We certainly can put that.
Well, that would be worked out between
Yes.
you and the administration. But I just wanted to clarify that if that was in fact going to be a part of this.
Yeah, we will share the RFP document with the mayor's office before that goes out on the street.
Okay.
And on a related note, there are a few just smaller artifacts or ephemera on or attached to the Phoenix Center. A lot of the more noteworthy ones have already been relocated, but there's, some metal Phoenix, emblems, et cetera, that could be saved versus going to the landfill that can be
absolutely.
celebrated and saved.
I know that there's some folks that specialize in that as well, so.
Councilman Parker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Brother President. My question, you've given us a lot of timelines. Do you have any timeline as to when the employees will actually start moving?
Yeah, so that timeline will be dictated about how quickly the new garage goes up, because we're not going to bring all the employees down and have a parking issue. It is our hope and desire to have that at the end of calendar year 25 or the beginning of 26, but we'll have to see when these bids come in and what the construction timeline is. So I'm letting you know what it is right now, but those bids aren't out on the street, so we're not sure what the proposals will be, but that is what we're going to write in the RFP.
Thank you.
Further discussion and questions? Hearing no further discussion, that concludes the special presentation. Thank you, Deputy Executive, for your time tonight.
Yes, thank you very much, City Council and Mayor's Office. I also want to thank Commissioner Powell for her encouragement of getting over here and making sure we're presenting. And so I'll try to make sure we do that with a certain cadence that works for you all. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Our final special presentation this evening is regards to the visit to the Pontiac sister city of Kusatsu, Shiga Prefecture, Japan. We give the floor to Mayor Tim Greimel for that special presentation.
Yeah, thank you, President McGinnis. As many of you know, certainly the council knows, and I think many members of the public are aware, I visited Pontiac's sister city of Kusatsu, Japan, last month in December. And this is a sister city relationship that goes back all the way to 1978. We're just over 45 years into this sister city relationship. And just a little background on the relationship. The prefecture, which is what Japan calls its states, of Shiga, became a sister state or sister prefecture of Michigan a little before 1978. And the reason for that is that the largest lake in Japan is located in Shiga Prefecture. And just as we're the Great Lakes state, Shiga Prefecture is known for having the largest lake in Japan. So that was the connection between Shiga Prefecture and the state of Michigan. And a number of cities within the Shiga Prefecture became sister cities with a number of cities here in Michigan. So for example, Lansing has a sister city in Shiga Prefecture. Detroit has a sister city in Shiga Prefecture. And similarly, we have a sister city there as well, which is called Kusatsu. Now, why were we paired with Kusatsu? I think largely because we're similar cities in the sense of having an industrial history, and certainly in 1978, both cities had very active industrial bases, and not too dissimilar in size, at least back in 1978. And so I think that's how Kusatsu and Pontiac became paired as cities. So I went there in December. I'm happy to say that there were no taxpayer dollars used in terms of the travel expenses involved. The only taxpayer dollars used were in connection with 40 to 50 Pontiac branded T-shirts that, as you can see in some of these pictures, we distributed as gifts to our hosts in Japan. So other than the cost of the T-shirts, which was obviously minimal, no taxpayer dollars were used in my travel to Japan. It was a very hectic schedule. It was a lot of meetings with the mayor and the city council and the school board there, meetings with a variety of business associations in Kusatsu, including a local Rotary Club there, which is interesting. It was, I think, a very interesting experience, albeit a busy and work-related experience. This slide that's up on the screen currently is a grouping of pictures of items that are permanently displayed in the Kusatsu City Hall that were given to the city of Kusatsu by the city of Pontiac over the 45-year history of the relationship. And so as you can see, they're very proud of the sister city relationship that they have long had with Pontiac. And that's a good segue to emphasize that that relationship really became pretty dormant since at least the late 1990s, which was the last time that a Pontiac mayor visited Kusatsu, was in 1998 when Pontiac Mayor Walter Moore visited Kusatsu. And I really want to give an enormous amount of credit to our state representative, Brenda Carter, who single-handedly revived this sister city relationship between Pontiac and Kusatsu. Obviously, she had some Japanese partners in Kusatsu who were involved in reviving that relationship too. But she was really the driving force here in Pontiac in reviving that relationship. And that happened before she was a state representative. It happened when she was a member of the Pontiac School Board. And she reached out to some of her counterparts in Kusatsu and really helped drive the revitalization of this partnership. Here you see some of these pictures, the two middle pictures in particular, were taken in what Kusatsu is probably most well known for, which is aquatic gardens. It is on the shore, as I mentioned, of the largest lake in Japan, and it has a garden, an outdoor garden that wasn't blooming when I was there in December, but is reportedly quite impressive in the spring and summer months. And then it has a large indoor area with water lilies and with other displays. And that's probably, like I said, what Kusatsu is most famous for in terms of tourist destinations. It also has a large freshwater aquarium, which it's well known for, but this is probably its single most famous tourist attraction. At the far left is a picture taken in front of a glass bowl that was presented to Kusatsu as a gift when Mayor Moore visited there in 1998. And in the far right hand of the slide is the handprint of then City Council President Clarence Phillips, who was part of that visit as well. Walter Moore also has a handprint that's all in a park that has quite a bit of signage commemorating and celebrating the sister city relationship between Pontiac and Kusatsu. Here is the pictures of the boat is a ferry boat, a tourist boat on the largest lake in Japan that actually is called, this is the name of the boat, Michigan is the name of that boat. And so it's interesting that in such a prominent way, they really celebrate the sister state, sister prefecture relationship between Shiga Prefecture and the state of Michigan. And that is the extent of the slides. I didn't want to bore folks with too many pictures, but I also wanted to share that they did present some gifts to the city. The mayor gave me a letter very similar to this, but this is a letter from the chairman of the city council in Kusatsu, specifically addressed to our city council president, Mike McGinnis, celebrating the sister city relationship. They also provided a recreation of a famous Japanese woodblock print that celebrates the historic role of Kusatsu on a historic road that ran from Tokyo to Kyoto. And so this is a picture of one of the posts or stops on that historic road that is located in Kusatsu. They also, speaking of Japanese woodblock prints, they also gave a T-shirt that has a few pictures of famous Japanese woodblock prints from a very famous Japanese artist from 100 years or more ago. And then they also presented me with a glass paperweight here. This was actually from the Kusatsu International Friendship Association, which is involved with the sister city relationship with Pontiac, as well as a sister city relationship that they have with a district in Shanghai, China. And so I say all that to say that they really value this relationship. It was a very interesting trip for me, and I think it's likely, we'll see, that they send a delegation to Pontiac sometime in the next year or two. So stay tuned for that. And obviously, if that happens, we should roll out the red carpet for our friends there. If you're wondering, given how many gifts and symbolic gestures they gave to us, if you're wondering what we presented to them, I, again, not using taxpayer dollars, purchased some really nice glass paperweights from Epiphany Glass Studios here in Pontiac, and they were all in the shape of a heart, both to symbolize our affinity for our friends in Kusatsu, Japan, but also being symbolic of our logo and slogan of the heart of Oakland County. So those were presented to a number of civic leaders there, as well as elected leaders there. And Brenda Carter was on the trip. We met not just with city officials, but also with the governor of Shiga Prefecture, the speaker of the state house or prefectural house or assembly in Shiga as well. And it was just a really nice celebration of the sister city relationship. So Brenda and I are hoping that we might, over time, persuade some investment to come to Pontiac from that neck of the woods in Japan to create some additional jobs here, but that has yet to be determined. So I really just wanted to share this experience with members of City Council, and if I may, Council President, I'll come and hand this to you. Maybe we can get a photo. I also personally bought some gifts for individual members of City Council that celebrate the aquatic garden that was pictured. So if you want to take one and pass it down of each of these, I bought some both pictures and some refrigerator magnets that really celebrate that destination in Japan. I know it's nothing too major, but I thought it was a nice token of my visit there and of this famous tourist destination in Kusatsu.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And we'll give that photo op the op, and then we'll carry on with conversation. All right.
I don't know if council wants to
Yeah,
join
feel
us
free,
here.
feel free. Add the ambiance.
Deputy, why don't you join us as well?
I'll hide the water bottle.
Stand in the back here.
You're the shortest people.
They say tall people in the back.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, are those going to be on display downstairs?
Yeah, we'll work out somewhere good to display that, work in coordination with the mayor's office.
Okay.
All right, discussion on that special presentation.
Excellent.
Councilwoman Rutherford.
I think that it's so cool that you got to go over to our sister city and to represent us well, and it just speaks volume on us just bridging the gap and restoring relationships that weren't always there. So kudos to you. You did a really good job, and I love my little thanks. I appreciate that.
And when I was mentioning important city artifacts that already have been relocated from the Phoenix Center, there are a number of very beautiful and ornate lanterns and other items that the Shiga Prefecture and Kusatsu Sister City had donated decades ago. And I want to thank those that were involved, and Mayor Waterman and Tim Travis of Goldner Walsh Garden and Home, especially, but I believe Lee Industrial Contracting as well. The relocating of those very large ornamental pieces from the top of the Phoenix Center and is now in a garden outside of City Hall, so that way the public, it can be preserved, of course, but also still be enjoyed for current and future generations of Pontiac residents to come. And we know that's just one step of many of other ways that we could strengthen those ties that have been done before and keeps going further. And thank you very much for highlighting how much State Representative Carter and the Carter family has worked to build up those bonds. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, that concludes that special presentation. We are now at recognition of elected officials. Are there any current elected officials in the community that wish to have the floor?
First, I give honor to God, who's the head of my life, to the mayor's office, and to this honorable body. As y'all, Michigan Voter Protective Service, I'm asking all of the community to continue to get ready to vote up until February 27th. And the clerk office is open, and they are looking to hire people, and we need you all to come out, get hired, Pontiac, and let's do this work. And I'm asking this council, because it was asked to me by our seat, for me to come from each district to represent us to vote. So I will be coming around talking at y'all district meetings and encouraging people to get out and vote and do their due diligently by voting. And you have till February 27th. And the clerk's office is open from 8:30 in the morning to 4:30, and I will be back. Thank you, and please, please, council people, I need you all to explain about the marijuana that's on that ballot so we can get things did for this city. Thank you, and as your voter protection woman, I thank you again.
Thank you, council, and good evening, Mr. Mayor and Deputy Mayor, Mr. Doyle. I thought this was a wise opportunity to come up and express my desire for the citizenry of Pontiac to look at the science and look at the economics of this cannabis law and understand that as we postpone, set aside, and almost stagnate on this, that other communities have gone way out there to pull this law into place and to build up their cities. And we need to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Other requests for recognition of elected officials? Hearing none, we are now at agenda address, an opportunity for citizens to speak on agenda items before the City Council makes their determination. Pro Tem Carrington, any requests?
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Carlton Jones.
Good evening, all. I've got 2 minutes is not a lot of time when we got a loaded agenda, but there's two important items on the agenda that I do want to speak to. One is the one that the county was just here talking about the great things that they're planning to do at the Phoenix Center. I want, and I really line up with them when they say we need to partner. We need to partner with them in a real big way because I think it's an opportunity for us to really do something with our other part of our downtown that's been struggling. And I will say this, we at TDC have been trying to bring some relief and some help to the downtown businesses. We have targeted all the buildings downtown to fall up under what we call as a climate action plan. And we've now got the ear of EPA and DOE to try to give relief to all the building owners in downtown. And if we time this right and we partner together, Mayor, we partner together, we can make this simultaneous to try to help the building owners downtown at the same time that development is happening, and it'd be great for Pontiac. The other item I want to speak to is Black History Month. We got it on the agenda, and I think that's great. We are going to really, truly engage Black History Month with the community of Pontiac, and this is the way that we're going to really try to emphasize how important community engagement is. The power of the people is going to make the difference in Pontiac. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Dr. Deirdre Waterman.
I see District 1's in the house. That's a good thing. But I also am happy to hear the report about the Japanese Sister City trip. I was the last mayor who actually hosted the Sister City when they came here about 4 years ago. And at that time, they had given us the gift of those beautiful lanterns that were on top of the Phoenix Center that we wanted to take down and make a Japanese garden over there on the south side of City Hall garden. And so we had to get permission from them to bring those beautiful lanterns, ornately carved, down to the garden. And when they came for their trip, one of the things that they did was that they did actually bless the garden in their way. You know, Japanese gardens are very professional, and it's almost an art, a country technique of excellence. And so they did that while they were here, and that was part of the time we hosted. It was our time to host them. So we gave them a wonderful time and extended that wonderful relationship we've had with the Sister City. I had a chance to go under Mayor Phillips and also got to see the closeness of this relationship. But I'm glad that Mr. Carlson came from Oakland County to talk about the Oakland County Downtown Development partner with us, because there is still so much confusion in that. And I'm sorry he didn't have a chance to interact more with a lot of people about it. But even the Oakland Press, in yesterday's article, said that that they purchased the towers from the city. No, they didn't purchase the towers from the city. So there's so much confusion here, and I think maybe we need a partnership that says actually what happens and make sure Pontiac gets the best deal out of this. So that's a discussion that's still going on, and we know exactly how much it would take to relocate that amphitheater, the $21 million amphitheater, because we had engineers who looked at that before, so I can pass along that information.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Ms. Darlene Clark, what item?
Hi there. A couple of things I want to ask concerning number one. How would doing the Phoenix Center affect the senior building that's adjourned, the parking lot, when you get ready to explode that, tear it down? How would that affect the senior building where the high tower senior building, the Phoenix Center for the seniors? How would that affect that building? Will it infringe with them as far as will you barricade it off because you're doing that explosion? What will you do to protect those people? Another thing, when you have a representative, since this is a very crucial subject and a delicate subject for the city of Pontiac longtime residents, when you have a special presentation and the council does not seem to ask the question that the people are wondering, is it possible you can take at least one or two questions from the audience? Because the audience do have serious questions on this matter. And there's questions that the council can't ask. But when a representative is here, he can ask the question. The question can be directed to them and he can respond. And then secondly, will you still, I see that you said the heart of the city is the scenario that you use, the phrase you're using now for Pontiac. Does the heart of the city trump Yaktown, or are you trying to do a switch over or over? Is it good in one hand, half dozen in another? Will you use it on a continuous basis? Because you got so many logos going on that the people are actually getting a little confused.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Ms. Gloria Miller, what item?
I want to start with number 4. I got here a little late in regards to Phoenix Center. And I want this put on the records for everyone out in TV land. I have no problem with Phoenix Center coming to the city of Pontiac. My problem is that what's in it for you as a citizen? They're bringing employees here. They're not hiring any employees here. They're bringing employees here. And there's a number of people, I'm sure Mr. Jones would know, that need jobs and need opportunity. Yes, partner with someone. Partner with you, Carlton, TDC. Put it up in the building down there. Let's do this. Let's don't talk about it. Let's do about it. I'm all for them coming here, but what are you going to do for me? And what I mean, I don't want no job, but there are a lot of young people out there that do need jobs in this city. I know because I work with them every day. The second thing is, and then, you know, Councilman Parker, you can ask me about this one. I got several calls on it, but, you know, I seen them this summer going down that field over there on Featherstone in regards to that rezoning right there by Amazon. What's going to go there, I'm being told, is like a storage facility, and that's kind of meets with Beginners, because that's part of your district, and then Thor's Park is yours. Have you talked to the people over there about Thor's? Are they with this project, what they about to put over there? Because, you know, I'm about the people. Did someone ask them, what is consensus? Because what I've been told at the Planning Commission, there was no one there, no citizens. So did you guys reach out to your constituents in those districts and see what they want? Some of them calling me. I don't, you know, just asking before you get hit. I just want to mention that. I'll go into the other things later. I don't want to mention that now, but like I stated, I love Oakland County. But what is Oakland County going to do for us here? Because they're bringing their own employees.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. That concludes agenda address, President McGinnis.
All right, with agenda address concluded, we are now at number 4 on the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the first reading of the zoning ordinance?
So moved.
Is there a
Support.
second? All right, was that you, Pro Tem?
Yes.
So there was a motion by Councilman Rutherford, second by Pro Tem Carrington, for the resolution to approve the first reading. Any rezoning requires 2 readings, so this is just the first reading, acknowledging the first reading of that rezoning. It was an application submitted by the property owner. The Planning Commission held a public hearing. To the feedback just now, there were residents that were in attendance, primarily other residents of Emerson Street. But you can see, obviously, from the designation, and we'll ask staff to share, that the legal boundary of the property in question is Thor Street. I know from Councilman Parker's feedback that there were residents of Thor Street that did receive the notice because they were inquiring about what truly it means. So the Planning Commission held the public hearing, made a recommendation, and now it is here for the first of 2 readings about whether the rezoning will be approved. It's currently P1 parking. It was a former parking lot for when the Pontiac Silverdome was there, a privately owned parking lot that ran along the western side of what was then a railroad. Now it's a vacated, abandoned rail yard that will in the future be a trail if all plans go well. So with that, we give the floor, do you want it right to the planning manager? Or you want the floor, Mayor Grimo?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. I think you summarized it well, President. So yeah, I was just going to turn it over to our planning manager, Mark Andrick.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for that introduction as well, Council President. So this is just a brief presentation to understand the request that is before City Council. So tonight, this is a conditional rezoning. The applicant is Luke Holdsworth. The address is located on Featherstone Street. It does not have an address at this point, but that parcel number is listed up there. And it is to rezone 10.25 acres from P1 to C3. This is the process that this case has heard. It was heard in an informational session in December. It was then heard at a public hearing on January 10th. Tonight is the first reading, and there will be an upcoming second reading. This is the zoning map showing the area. So this, excuse me just a second. There we go. This area in blue is the, highlighted with the red outline, is the location of this 10.25 acres. So this blue is zone P1. The Featherstone Street is down here. University is the diagonal street right here. The former Silverdome, which is now Amazon, is this pink special purpose district right here. There is a city-owned future trail that is going through right here, and there are single-family residential homes to the east and west of both the property and the trail itself. This is the aerial photo just showing this land, which was, again, previously an overflow parking lot for the Silverdome. There are not a lot of trees on it, but there are a lot of trees between the residential area and the subject line here. There are utility lines that also flank the eastern part of this parcel, so it really inhibits development or buildings within that easement because of those power lines. So there are some restrictions in place that challenge development. This is, again, the view from Featherstone Street view. So this is from the south looking north, just looking at the power lines and some of the existing trees that are here. This is University, again, from the north looking to the south, looking at the subject area. The parcel in question is, again, split zoned. 2 acres of this was rezoned back in 2017 to C3. So that is already rezoned, not part of, and this is along University. It's not part of tonight's request. Now, the remaining 10.25 acres was also approved back in 2017 as a conditional rezoning. But because construction did not commence, per state law, that reverted back to the P1 zoning district that was previously in place. Again, the property is located on those 2 major corridors. And the parcel borders a number of single-family homes to the west and those utility easements, as I mentioned. And I've already discussed the adjacent zoning districts. So the applicant requests the C3 district to expand the number of uses permitted on the site while not opening the door for more objectionable high-intensity industrial or manufacturing uses that could be a nuisance to nearby residents, and this would be like an industrial zone. A 2-acre portion of the property, again, was already rezoned and is not part of this request, and the applicant intends to develop the property with a car wash on the little area along Featherstone Drive and a mini warehouse self-storage facility, which is permitted in the C3 district by special exception. So I'm going to go back to the exhibits. So the intended location of the car wash would be down here at Featherstone and Emerson. And then the self-storage facilities the applicant is considering would be in the area right here. The applicant has voluntarily offered conditions of approval and these conditions strictly prohibit uses that would not normally be permitted in C3, or if they're not permitted in C3, this would strengthen it. So they've offered sexually oriented businesses, packaged alcohol sales, marijuana retail facilities, bars, taverns, alcohol service establishments, places of assembly, retail sales facility that primarily involves the sale of firearms, gambling facilities, and manufacturing, fabrication, and processing facilities. And the applicant also included any other public nuisance or type of business as determined by the planning department. So the applicant gave the planning department some discretion of determining what a nuisance is. So, and while marijuana would not, under the medical, they've already been scored throughout the city, and in the adult use this is not an overlay district. We did keep this in here just for long-term protections, just in case anything changed in the future. An applicant who wanted to consider any of these uses would need to go through a rezoning on this property, just to be clear if they wanted to go through that, so it would not be permitted with this rezoning. Again, let's talk about the C3 zoning district. It's intended to provide a mix of uses that are appropriate along a thoroughfare and collector streets that have moderate to large traffic volumes. Now, we've crossed out a few of the things that the applicant has prohibited, but generally by right, I'm going to say some of these really mixed-use bakeries, banks, business service establishments, galleries, personal service establishment, pet boarding facilities, small and medium retail, nursing homes, religious institutions, and schools. And then the following would require a special exception approval by Planning Commission, so it would not be by right, but that would be automobile services, outdoor retail, mini warehouses, movie and television production facilities, community service facilities, and wireless telecommunication. So the one thing that the applicant is requesting is that if there is self-storage facilities, it would still require a special exception by Planning Commission. So there are 10 standards of approval for a rezoning: consistency with the goals of the master plan, compatibility of the site's features, evidence the applicant cannot receive a reasonable return on investment under the current zoning. With P1, that's an obvious one because the only thing that is allowed there is parking. Compatibility with all potential uses allowed in the proposed zoning district with surrounding uses, and the capacity of city's utilities and services. The capacity of the street system, the boundaries of the requested rezoning or district are reasonable. The requested zoning district is considered to be more appropriate from the city's perspective than another zoning district, and rezoning the land is considered to be more appropriate than amending the list of appropriate or special land uses. And lastly, the rezoning will not create an isolated incompatible zone in the neighborhood. So just a few things of analysis on this. The master plan's future land use map classifies the property as being a traditional neighborhood. But the topography of the site is a concern on the eastern property line. There's a significant change in elevation from the subject parcel down to old railroad tracks and utility easements that make development challenging here, no matter what is being proposed. Under the current designation, the property is only to be, again, permitted to be used for parking, and there's no need for parking at this location. This rezoning request and future site plan should consider the adjacent residents. Ideally, the applicant will offer conditions to address concerns as they have. The city's utilities and services are sufficient to accommodate the proposed zoning district. The site has frontage, again, along 2 thoroughfares. But I do want to note that the long narrow central portion has no access to Emerson, and I have that in the last bullet point. So the only way that someone would be able to develop entryways to and from the site would be down at Emerson, at Featherstone, and up at University, not through the interior neighborhoods. So there would not be direct access because there's no right-of-way that exists. From the city's perspective, again, there's no reasonable financial return with the P1 zoning designation, and some of the uses offered to be prohibited by the applicant are not permitted in the C3 district, such as sexually oriented businesses and gambling. The inclusion of the conditions by the applicant addresses staff's concerns about uses permitted in the C3 zoning district. So Planning Commission at the public hearing recommended approval 5-0 with the conditions supplied by the applicant during the public hearing at that meeting. So I did confirm that the applicant has been made aware of tonight's meeting. I have not seen them in the audience, unfortunately, so, but I hope that they are able to come. So thank you.
And as was shared at the Planning Commission meeting, a potential use, that would require rezoning is that a car wash on the Featherstone sign and possible mini warehouse. But both of those would require a special exception permit, meaning there would have to be a public hearing held at the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission would have to grant that permit. And with the greater requirements that the city has now approved, that would go to within 500 feet of any part of that parcel. So, for example, if it's going to be a car wash that's at Featherstone and Emerson, it would be within 500 feet. Is that correct to interpret that?
That
and
is
then along
correct.
the parcel, it's just so long
Yep.
that it would be 500 feet from any part of that plot of land. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Councilman Parker.
Thank you. A couple of questions, really. How will that affect, I believe the parcel adjacent to that is the North Spur, and how will that affect that?
I may need some assistance identifying where the parcel adjacent to that is the.
I guess would be the east.
Gray line.
The gray line.
gray line, yeah.
That's the North Spur. How would that affect that?
So that is something the city acquired with grant dollars for a future trail. The impact of this should not affect that trail. Obviously, through any site plan process, there are engineering requirements that would not directly impact that. But these are two distinctly different properties at two distinctly different elevations, if that helps.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that it was previously approved for zoning. What was the previous plan to put there?
I apologize. The actual land use is escaping me at the moment, but there was, I don't know if it was a gardening, indoor gardening. I may be misspeaking a little bit.
If I recall correctly, I don't know if it was just the few acres closer, or if it was going to go further south, but it was something along the lines of some growing or gardening operation where they have outdoor growing.
Okay.
But that never came to be. But was it C3? Was that the zoning that was done in 2017?
The conditional rezoning for the same acreage tonight was also for C3, correct? And it was limited to that specific use and no other uses.
So if, in fact, they put a car wash or a storage area there, will there be some type of barrier between the homes that'll keep the noise and stuff down and traffic from popping over?
Yes, we have minimum requirements through our zoning code, but as part of a special exception process through Planning Commission has the ability to adopt some additional buffers beyond what the zoning code has, just depending on the type of proposal and the layout.
And my final question, if I know where you're at, and that's Thor's, and that should be Carrington? That runs right here, the other street on the other side of that is Carrington?
Emerson to the right of it.
This is Emerson right here.
This is Emerson? Okay.
And then Kenilworth. And
Is and the houses are there, is there anything that keeps them from keeping the weeds down from the houses?
I think we can explore that as part of a site plan process.
That was one of the questions that I was asked,
Yeah.
how come they don't keep their property clean, so.
Yeah. That's something we would explore as part of a site plan process to make sure there were not any code violations when it came to the maintenance of landscaping on the property.
Okay. And last question, sir.
Sure.
You mentioned the master plan, so I'm have to presume since the master plan is still being worked on, this falls within the guidelines of the master plan?
Yeah, we're currently still reviewing the 2014 master plan for tonight's rezoning since we do not have a new master plan adopted.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilwoman James.
I want to clarify the areas where the proposal is to build these buildings. Are they facing major thoroughfares?
So the self-storage facilities that the applicant has offered really would be right here. They would be facing, again, this gray area, not necessarily a thoroughfare. It'd be facing the bike trail. But we have not had any site plan discussions. That's just a conceptual idea that's been presented to us from the applicant.
But if you go back to your requirements, if you slide back to the first requirement or consideration is that for C3 is that
It's where it states about the traditional neighborhood for the master plan.
yeah,
I think she's
and it says mixture of uses that are, no, that's the right page.
Yeah.
That are appropriate along the thoroughfare and collector streets that have moderate to large traffic volumes. Does this proposal meet those requirements?
From staff's review of this parcel and this application, because the access points would be on Featherstone and University or on Emerson to access those thoroughfares, we feel that it is along those two thoroughfares.
Well, Mr. President, I would like to see next week possibly some pictures of the elevation. I think the elevation is important to us making this decision.
Yeah.
Because I'm concerned about the trail. We definitely plan to develop that trail, and I'm concerned about how that would impact it. So I think we need to look at the elevation, because you say that, there's a significant elevation there. So we need to look at that and see, just how much that really does affect it.
Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list is exhausted. Again, this is a first reading, and what's before us is the resolution acknowledging it's been read for a first time. Clerk Doyle, roll call and adoption of the resolution.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays. I did have a question, Mr. President.
Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you. So is this coming back for the second reading next week?
We can schedule it for next week if council chooses.
Okay.
And thank you, Brother President. Can we also request that the owner of the property be here to answer any other questions?
Of course. But the clerk wanted to know so that way we could post, you want to put it in the publication to say, but that is staff's target that you'd be comfortable with next Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much. We are now at, that resolution is adopted. We are at number 5. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution recognizing February as Black History Month?
So moved. Support.
It has been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Rutherford. Pro Tem Carrington, do you want to read the resolution?
Actually, could Councilman Goodman serve that honor?
Sure, if he's got it.
Whereas the city of Pontiac, Michigan has had substantial population of African-American residents for its entire existence as a city, since the state of Michigan recognized Pontiac as a city in 1861. Whereas in 1915, Dr. Carter Godwin Woodson, noted scholar and son of former slaves who founded the Association for the Study of African-American Life and History, initiated Black History Week, February 12th, 1926, which was celebrated for many years by African Americans in the United States. Whereas the month of February is now observed nationally as Black History Month to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of African Americans have made and continue to offer to this nation. Whereas since 1976, every president of the United States has adopted the month of February as Black History Month, an annual celebration of African American achievements and roles in United States history. Whereas Black History Month acknowledges and honors numerous past and present educators, scientists, activists, pioneers, leaders, artists, inventors, entrepreneurs, and elders with special ceremonies and activities. Whereas Black History Month is also a time to reflect on the burdens of racial prejudice and explore, understand, and appreciate the identities and cultures across and within the African diaspora. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Pontiac City Council declares February 2024 as Black History Month in the city of Pontiac, Michigan. And further resolved, the City Council honors the contributions and sacrifices made in building pride in Black history and educating all Americans of the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our cultural, spiritual, economic, and political development. And further resolve, the City Council joins other organizations throughout the state of Michigan and this nation in using this occasion to raise awareness of the hardships African Americans have endured, celebrate the milestones that have been achieved, continue the pursuit towards equal treatment under the law, and opportunity of access for African Americans in our community and nationally. And further resolve, the City
Order in the
Council...
chambers. Councilman Goodman has the floor. If side conversations can cease and the Black History Month resolution can continue, Councilman Goodman, you have the floor.
And further resolve, the City Council acknowledges the injustices that African Americans have endured and commends African American residents for the continuous pursuit of overcoming those injustices and changing the course of history. And further resolved, we honor the leaders and activists from Pontiac and throughout the nation who have helped pave the way for racial justice and called our community's attention to the continued need to battle racism and build an equitable society. And further resolve, the City Council welcomes additional opportunities for us as a community to better acknowledge, celebrate, and preserve the people, places, events, and organizations that constitute Pontiac's phenomenal local Black history. Pontiac City Council, January 30th, 2024.
Thank you very much. So that's what's before us. Want to highlight some Black History Month activities happening in our community that's been shared with us so far. And if you know of others, we welcome you letting us know so we can include that in announcements for the rest of the month. The City of Pontiac's communications team will be spotlighting Pontiac Black history on our channels and other public spaces. The Pontiac Public Library has a Black History Month essay contest that's now open, and the deadline for submission is this Saturday, February 3rd. There's categories for ages 7 through 12 and ages 13 through 17. The prompt is choosing your favorite African-American author from the past or present and tell us about one or multiple books that they've written and why these books are important to you. There are 2 prizes awarded for each age group. The Pontiac Public Library also has the Black History Month celebration on Saturday, February 10th from 12 to 2 p.m. The keynote speaker is actor, author, and activist Hill Harper. It's held, of course, at the library at 60 East Pike Street in downtown Pontiac. Also on February 10th, that Saturday, is the opening of the exhibit and opening reception of Soulful Stitches, an African-American quilting and doll exhibit at the Pontiac Creative Arts Center. That's from 6 to 9 p.m., and the Creative Arts Center is held at 47 Williams Street in Pontiac, and the exhibit will run from February 10th through March 3rd. Admission for that reception and the center is free. Pontiac Youth Recreation, so the City of Pontiac is doing a field trip to the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History on Saturday, February 17th. That field trip is from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The bus pickup is at Pontiac City Hall, and lunch will be provided. So please register while seats remain. We got confirmation today that there are still some seats for that city's youth recreation field trip for Black History Month, specifically the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit. You can register at pontiacrecreation.recdesk.com. Beyond Martin and Rosa, a Black History Creative Arts Contest presented by Pontiac United. Submissions will open starting February 1st and run through the deadline of February 21st. There's a category for students in grade 3 through 5, either an essay or creative story of 150 words or a photo of your handmade poster. For middle school, grades 6 through 8, and high school, grades 9 through 12, there are 3 different possible categories. 1, essay or creative story of 500 words. 2, a 2-minute video of a spoken word, poetry, rap, or drama performance. And 3, 2-minute video of a dance routine or playing an instrument. Applicants must be a Pontiac resident and a student in grades 3 through 12. Email submissions with your name and grade to pontiacunited@gmail.com. On Sunday, February 25th, VB Touré Empowerment Events and Silver Lake Church have a Black History Month celebration happening on the 25th from 4 to 7 p.m. Call 248-250-3766 or visit www.vbtouré.com for more information. And then the Pontiac United Education Coalition and Oakland Schools are presenting the African American Read-In with author Don Tate on Thursday, February 29th. That's at the Oakland Schools Technical Campus Northeast, which is in Pontiac on Perry Road. Arrive by 5:30 p.m. for dinner. 500 book copies are available for the first participants, and there's also a virtual option if that's how you'd like to participate. Registration is required. So again, just some of the opportunities to celebrate and highlight Black history through the month of February in our community, and we welcome information on other emerging activities so we can amplify that in the weeks to come. Further discussion on Black History Month? Councilwoman Rutherford?
I just wanted to say I'm so excited about the quilt exhibit. I've been waiting to see that for a very long time. I think it's beautiful how you can display a whole history on a quilt. My grandmother used to sew quilts, so I'm really excited to see how they're going to display it. So I hope everybody goes out and see that one in particular. So just really excited about it.
Thank you. And of course, that's located in District 1. Councilwoman James.
I also want to say that I appreciate all of the photos that you put on display during Black History Month for historic people and for current Black history, people that we want to acknowledge. So that's a great precedent that we've started that I hope that we will continue. One of the things that the Lord's kind of put on my heart is recognizing Black families. So this year, 2024, I personally will be recognizing and talking about each week in the month of February that we need to begin to recognize and lift up the Black family. We need to talk about and recognize our Black men for their place in society, and we need to talk about Black families, Black children, what we can do to strengthen Black families. So I'm going to be talking about that topic throughout the month, and I would invite all of you, if you've got churches, whatever, let's focus around, everything can't be history. We got to look back and so that we can be strengthened to look forward. So our families need attention. They need attention. And I think it would be great for us to look at this month, where we're looking at all these wonderful people and the sacrifices they made for us. Let's do our part, and let's look at what we can do to strengthen what we have right now. So that's going to be my focus for this month, Black History Month 2024. I'm going to be looking at recognizing and appreciating Black families.
Thank you. Further discussion? I do want to point out that Oakland County's Historical Society has partnered with 4 other historical societies, and a lot of new research has been done about the Underground Railroad in Oakland County, and specifically how important Pontiac was. So, of course, we know about Detroit in terms of access to Windsor, but we were on an important route for access to freedom to Canada through Port Huron and Sarnia, that families would be coming through Pontiac. And a lot of research has been done, and so there is a talk tomorrow night at the Southfield Public Library. The community's welcome. It's a free event. That's the last day in January, Wednesday, the January 31st at 6:30 p.m. at the Southfield Public Library. And later in the year, we'll be bringing that presentation to Oakland County. But an exhibit, a pop-up exhibit, will be traveling throughout Oakland County and specifically Pontiac to spotlight Pontiac's really important role in the Underground Railroad. Again, looking back retrospectively, and I'm excited about what you shared about looking at the present day and prospectively as Black history unfolds every day.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle, on adoption of the resolution.
Parker?
Yes.
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 Yes. That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We're at number 6. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the contract with ESRI for GIS services? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford and seconded by Councilwoman James. The motion is now before us. Administration has the floor.
Thank you, President McGinnis. I'd like to invite our acting DPW Director, Patrick Miller, to the podium to explain why this contract is important for the city to be able to do its work and continue to provide services to residents. This is a contract that I think most directly impacts DPW, but it can be beneficial actually to some of our other departments as well. Take it away, Mr. Miller.
Good evening, Council. This would be renewing a 7-year-old contract with ESRI, the Environmental Systems Research Institute. The new contract's a 3-year enterprise license agreement and a training package. Total spend for the 3-year agreement and the training package is $172,105. 17,005 of those dollars are for the training package. First year spend and contract, $46,700. This would be billed through IT and then charged to the individual departments that utilize the software. Again, DPW being the biggest user, grants as well. I'm sorry, not grants. I meant Mr. Yandrick, thank you, planning. GIS, Geographic Information Systems, the current framework for GIS is out of date and it's no longer supported. Our asset management system, CityWorks, functions off of ESRI as well. So without this upgrade, it will also no longer function. GIS houses all of our asset data, such as stormwater, street lighting, signs, guardrails, sidewalks, trees in the future will be housed there as well. Requirements for municipal reporting to supervisor agencies would be improved through this as well. So we're asking for approval to enter into this 3-year agreement.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion. Councilwoman James.
Yes, I want to say that this did come through the Parks, Recreation, and Public Works Subcommittee meeting on the 22nd. So it has been thoroughly discussed at the subcommittee level. The one question I had, though, was this is an enterprise agreement. So has the software, have they already updated the software? Or is this something that, once we approve this, they will be able to update it for you?
Karina, can you speak to that? Yeah, come on. Karina Vasquez, she's the admin for GIS, and she's the one that manages this and does an outstanding job for us.
So if I recall correctly, the question was that if this will allow upgrade, so that is yes. We are not able to upgrade the system without entering into this agreement.
Okay, the question was, this is an enterprise system, so you're basically paying for their software.
Correct.
And I'm just wondering, is it already, the software is already available in the upgrade that you need? Is that what, that's what I'm trying to?
Yes.
But they have to develop that.
They have to develop, we have to upgrade it. So we have the software, we have the base that's from 2017,
Okay.
but a lot of functionality is not available because it's so outdated.
Do you have any idea on how long it will take them to be able to provide the upgrade that you need?
So we are working with a contractor to do that upgrade. The CityWorks upgrade should take about a week, and then also the same thing for the enterprise upgrade as well, 1 week.
Councilman Parker.
Thank you, Brother President. You mentioned that this is an upgrade for a system we already have.
Correct.
So was there a price increase as well?
That, I don't have that data because that was back in 2017, so it's probably with inflation, a price increase.
Looks like the deputy mayor might have some thoughts on that for you. Deputy Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. I do not have the exact number of the price increase, but yes, there is a price increase, but there is also a price simplification. So currently, the DPW department has GIS data and the planning department has GIS data. Both of them pay separately and individually for outdated service, for, as you've heard, outdated software. We are now rolling all of this together in one software package. That's the enterprise package, which allows all of the people in the city who need to use the GIS data to have access to it. And additionally, we are going along with our process of centralizing items where they belong. So the IT department will take ownership of the licensing because it is software and software is managed by IT, but they will charge back to each individual department that is using that software.
Just a point of, just as I look through your package, some of the color, I guess they were color slides, some of them are not readable.
I can forward the
Can you forward it a more readable copy too?
Yes.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion before us? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle on adoption of the resolution to approve the contract with Esri for GIS services.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We are at number 7. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the contract between Michigan Department of Transportation and Oakland County Water Resources Commission for coordination on Bagley and Gulf Drive road construction project?
Moved by Carrington.
Sir, it's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Parker. The motion is on the floor. We give the floor to the administration.
Thank you, President McGinnis. We are fortunate to have our contract engineer with us, Shannon Filarecki, and so I'd like to invite her to the podium to explain all the ins and outs, but this is an essential piece of facilitating this year's road work that will redo Bagley and Gulf Drive. So take it away.
Yep.
There we are. Good evening. So as the mayor explained, this is one of our ongoing road projects. As council is aware, we participate with the Federal Aid Committee for Oakland County and put projects on what's called the Transportation Improvement Plan. It's a 5-year rolling plan of projects. So 5 years ago, we got put on this tip, and then they rolled around, and last year we designed it. This year it went out for bids. The way that that process is managed through the Federal Aid Committee is that MDOT acts as the fiduciary, and we end up paying MDOT for just our proportionate shares. So we got several different funding mechanisms through this. There's, I think, 5 different funding packages that are identified in the contract with MDOT. The pavement work for the road is an 80-20 split, so the city pays 20% of the cost of that construction and 80% is carried from funds through the federal government. There is also a sanitary sewer component to this. We partnered with WRC to replace the sanitary sewer that exists underneath Bagley. Since Bagley is going to be a total reconstruct with widening, that pavement's going to be gone. It affords an opportunity for a cost savings measure for all of our residents by fixing the sanitary sewer main before we put the pavement back. So the contract way that it's set up is a little unique. It's the way we handled Orchard Lake Road and Franklin. MDOT's the fiduciary. They hold all the money. So MDOT enters into a contract with the contractor. In this case, Dan's Excavating was the low bidder. And the total amount of the contract, or the bid price, was $10,470,611. Of that, MDOT's going to be covering $4,119,290. The city would be covering $1,913,621, and $4.4 million of that and some change is covered by Oakland County Water Resources to cover the sanitary sewer portion of the project. So we will enter into we need to enter into a contract with MDOT to agree to pay the full cost of that construction project. They will pay the contractor, and then they will invoice us for just our proportionate share, that 20% cost. They will also invoice us for all of the sanitary sewer costs. So we need a secondary contract with WRC to ensure that WRC reimburses the city for the sanitary sewer costs. So it gets a little weird, but this is the standard mechanism that has been used for years with MDOT in order to afford these projects. The funding through MDOT does not cover construction engineering. So as past practice, the city will be entering into an agreement with HRC, one of our as-needed services contractors or consulting engineers, to provide those consulting or the construction engineering services. So what you have in your packet tonight is the MDOT contract, the WRC contract, and the proposal letter from HRC so that you have a total cost behind getting Gulf and Bagley done. Are there any questions?
Thank you for the information. Councilman Rutherford, followed by Councilman Parker.
First of all, good job on the presentation and being transparent. So my question is two parts. Number one, if this is approved, when does the Gulf Drive start? When does it start? Number two, how are we going to make sure that the community knows the different routes? Because the previous situation, that wasn't explained clearly, and we want to make sure we have visible signs so that people know how to get down Gulf Drive. They know the Bagley's cut off, and that we can cut off on any confusion or misinformation. I yield to the president.
We give you the floor to offer reflections at this point.
Okay. So there is still a time frame. If council were to approve this evening, then we would send the signed contract over to MDOT tomorrow and request a meeting with Dan's Excavating. One of the things that was identified when the bids came in is sanitary sewer came in over budget. So WRC has actually come up with an alternate design that they would like to discuss with the contractor before they start work. Construction on the sanitary sewer was slated to start in February, but since we haven't entered into a contract yet, that will be the first step. I just don't know when that'll start. But we will definitely have some language out, and the signs will be posted for the maintenance of traffic. Those have to go out prior to the start of construction. They have to be out for a period of time before we can begin construction, so that the transportation entity out, everybody driving the streets understands that that road construction is coming, and there'll be signs out to let them know when that construction will start and when the closures will occur.
On follow, Councilman Rutherford.
To the administration, can we use our communications department to make sure that we adequately blanket the city, especially in that district? Again, I just want to make sure if this is approved, that everybody has a heads up about different routes and different routines, because previously that did not happen the way I felt it needed to. So I'm asking to use our communications, be it textbooks, social media, be it through mailers, whatever we have to do, because we have a lot of seniors to stay in that population, and I want them to be safe during this whole duration. So I yield to the president.
We'll give the yield to the mayor and the administration for response to that question.
Yes, absolutely. We've started doing that to a much greater extent since the onset of the Franklin project, which I think is what you're reflecting on. And so subsequent to the commencement of Franklin, we've had at least one other road project in the city that started, the Orchard Lake project, and we ramped up our communication in part because we heard concerns about not communicating enough in regard to the Franklin project. So we will certainly continue that pattern moving forward. The good news is that unlike the Franklin project, which overlapped in part with one of the lanes on Bagley being closed, the Bagley project should not involve any long-term project on Franklin. Now, there are a few things that still have to be completed on Franklin, as you and I have discussed, in terms of some of the drainage, the drains and some of the manhole covers and things like that. But that'll be very short in duration. And so we won't have a similar problem like that we had with Franklin before with the Bagley project, in that there won't be the next major parallel street will not have any long-term construction on it. But yes, to answer your question, we're fully committed to ramping up communications around this.
Councilman?
Lastly, to the administration, is there any way that we can get someone from this department to come to the next District 1 meeting to tell us the timeline if this is approved?
Mayor Graham.
The short answer is yes, but which department? Are you talking about DPW or are you talking about communications?
I'm talking about communications and DPW, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
When is the next District 1 meeting?
It is February the 24th, 2024, at 3 to 5 at the Alley Cat located at 31 North Saginaw Street in Pontiac, Michigan.
I'm sure I'll get back with you to get that again,
definitely
but I just want to add a little caveat. Again, we've got to enter into the contract. We have to meet with the contractor and determine whether or not they're willing to entertain WRC's proposed change to the sewer design. I may not have a schedule by then. You know, I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that, but as long as you're aware of that.
We can just go for March. I just want to make sure everybody knows in District 1 what is happening, and, you know, so I can, you know, make sure they have the information, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman Parker.
Actually, Councilwoman Rutherford asked all my questions.
Very good. Further discussion on the motion before us? Yes.
There is, I looked at the motion, and I think there needs to be some clarification. The resolution was listed with the dollar amounts incorrectly. So typically, we do not include the dollar amounts within MDOT or WRC's contracts, because the contract language states that we are responsible for any of those cost overruns. I don't want to limit the amount of reimbursement that we can get back from WRC if there's a change to their project and there's an increased cost. I would rather not have a not-to-exceed dollar amount for WRC. Those numbers that are in there are conducive to the numbers that you saw on the table in the front of the memo, but the total project cost is $10 million. So the amount we need to enter into with MDOT is the full contract amount, plus any change orders that may occur on site. Any of those change orders that get authorized, we would be responsible only for 20% of the road work. WRC would be responsible for 100% of the sanitary sewer work. So I would respectfully ask that we remove the dollar amounts from the MDOT and the WRC contract pieces.
Right now, what the administration has prepared, it says, now therefore be it resolved that the Pontiac City Council authorizes the mayor or his designee to execute a contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation for an amount not to exceed $4,119,290 related to the contract with control sections, job numbers. Be it resolved that the Pontiac City Council authorizes the mayor or his designee to execute a contract with the Oakland County Water Resources Commission for an amount not to exceed $4,437,700 related to the contract. Be it also resolved that the funding source for the City of Pontiac, MDOT, and the Water Resources Commission will be the Major Road Fund under General Ledger 202-463-974-074. And be it further resolved that the Pontiac City Council authorizes the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract with Hubble, Roth, and Clark Engineering for an amount not to exceed $1,576,293 for engineering services related to the Gulf and Bagley project, which will be known as the contract number 202-10044 from the Major Road Fund GL 202-463-806. The administration, you're missing numbers from your Major Road Fund. If you'd like to start identifying what the balance of those numbers should be. But so the acting city engineer is saying that it may complicate reimbursement ability for the full scope with Water Resources Commission and the Michigan Department of Transportation if it is identified. We do have the law director in the chambers now. The law director has been very thorough in reviewing contracts and actions. So I would welcome any guidance for City Council on whether it is necessitated, are we required to have an explicit dollar amount in there? The acting city engineer is identifying that it could limit the ultimate amount that we could be reimbursed. Do you have any reflections on that, or if you'd have any material concerns if it states that we authorize the entering of the contract with Oakland County Water Resources Commission related to the contract number, and the state of Michigan Department of Transportation related to the contract number, but maybe not a dollar amount, so that way we don't limit reimbursements. Any thoughts or concerns?
Upon talking with the acting city engineer, I would agree that the numbers not to exceed can be removed because it is referencing the actual contract number with the control numbers as well. So I would agree with your statement as well as city engineer.
Okay. Have you been able to determine what's the major road fund general ledger number?
074 is missing off the end.
The end, 074. So that would be 202-463-806-074. That concurs with your understanding. Okay. I'm going to read the amendment that I'm going to elicit from council members if you so desire. It would change the now therefore be it resolved so that would read, now therefore be it resolved that the Pontiac City Council authorizes the mayor or his designee to execute a contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation related to contract number 23-531, and the rest of the language continue. And then the next, be it resolved that the Pontiac City Council authorizes the mayor or his designee to execute a contract with the Oakland County Water Resources Commission related to contract number 63000-214217. And then it would add the final three digits to the GL of the final resolved 074. So that way the GL numbers are correct and aligned. Essentially what this amendment would do, it strikes for an amount not to exceed, and then the dollar amount, in both of those related resolves for MDOT and OCWRC. Is there a city council member that wants to make that motion?
So moved.
Support.
Yep, and it adds the 074. That's a great question. My understanding is that it's okay to identify what we're authorizing with Hubble, Roth, and Clark. That we're good with that because we want to say what is the cap for engineering services. And that is not impacted in terms of reimbursable costs the same way that MDOT or the Water Resources Commission is. So Councilwoman Rutherford moved that amendment. Is there a second?
James seconded.
Seconded by Councilwoman James. So that is now before us. Do we want to make that change? And do we want to make that change tonight? Obviously, it's an important project. We don't want to slow it down if we don't have to, but we don't want to bum rush it if we don't have to, too. So that's the motion. It's striking the not, for an amount not to exceed for both MDOT and WRC, so that way the city is fully protected when it comes to getting maximum reimbursement costs. Was there a hand pro tem?
Well, I just wanted to ask, is this something that needs to be done tonight, or can it go back and make sure they totally look at it and bring it back to us?
What the acting city engineer shared is that once the council authorizes it, they can get the signed contract, and then the Water Resources Commission can get a verdict on whether this modified sewer sanitary setup can be done, because that would slow down the project until they have us execute a contract. They can't sort of
Right.
take it to the next step.
We're not allowed to talk to the contractor until such time that a contract's been executed. So WRC can't have any conversation with the proposed contractor until we've executed a contract and they're under agreement to proceed forward with the project. If we delay it too long, then the contractor has the ability to withdraw their bid, and we would have to go out to bids again, which would delay the project. And the delays that we currently have right now, we need to get moving, otherwise we're going to run into more than one construction season.
Okay. Further discussion on the amendment before us, striking those two portions and adding the final three digits so the GL numbers match in both the third and the fourth resolved. Hearing no further discussion, speakers list exhausted. This is just on that amendment, just on that change. Roll call and adoption of the amendment. Clerk Doyle.
Goodman?
Yes.
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 That motion carries. The amendment passes, and it is now incorporated into the resolution before us. So now the main motion, the resolution is amended, and thank you for flagging this now, so that way we didn't tie our hands and get less money back for the all-in ultimate costs. Further discussion on the resolution as amended? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle, on adoption of the resolution as amended regarding the Gulf Drive and Bagley road projects. Clerk Doyle.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. Thank you for your time tonight. We are now at number 8. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the budget amendments?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Parker. This resolution to approve the budget amendment for fiscal year 2023-24 to increase budgeted revenues in the amount of $5 million to account 101-000-558.000 state grants MEDC and appropriations in the amount of $5 million to account 101-925-992.084 debt service, Ottawa Phoenix Center. 2 weeks ago, we shared some context with you on this when we authorized the clerk to post notice, and here we are 2 weeks later. It is returned after the posting has been done and the community has been notified that we're considering changing our budget mid-cycle. Mayor and Administration, you have the floor before deliberation continues.
You summed it up well, Mr. President. The only additional item that I would mention is that not only did we publish the proposed budget amendment a couple weeks ago, but last week we actually approved the grant agreement with the state to actually receive that $5 million to eliminate the outstanding debt that exists on the Phoenix Center as a result of the deal 3-4 years ago before any of us were in office. So this is really refreshing that the state is providing this assistance to us. And I know we just approved the agreement last week, but this would actually formalize that in the budget as we expect to receive that money.
Thank you very much. Is there further discussion on the motion before us? I'd like to again reiterate on behalf of us citizens, us taxpayers, to the governor of Michigan, the Speaker of the State House, Joe Tate, our State Representative Brenda Carter, and our State Senator Jeremy Moss, and all those that voted for the state budget that made it so that the city of Pontiac could be awarded this grant of $5 million, which means it's $5 million that we all collectively don't have to shell out to pay off that debt service. So this is another step. Since it's midway through our budget year and it's coming in new money, we're amending the budget to reflect, hey, new money's coming in and new money's going out, because as soon as we get those funds and the agreements in place, the debt's being paid off. We don't want to wait, so that way we don't get even more interest or another payment of about $80,000 a month. We'd like to avoid as many of those as possible. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, roll call, Clerk Doyle, on adoption of the resolution that approves the budget amendment.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Yes.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted, and the budget is now amended. We are at number 9. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the contract with Salary.com for private sector data?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Moved by Councilwoman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Goodman. We give the floor to the Mayor and Administration for initial information.
Thank you, President McGinnis. I know that we have our Human Resources Director here, Melinda Durakovich. So I certainly welcome her presentation, but I also want to afford an opportunity, if he so chooses, to give some introductory comments to our Deputy Mayor, Kalfani Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item actually, again, was before the Finance and Personnel Subcommittee. It is a tool that will allow Ms. Durakovich and her team to make sure that we are not just being competitive in the market to other municipalities, but for positions like engineers and accountants, that we are taking into account the general marketplace in total so that we can make necessary adjustments there as needed.
Very good. Madam Director, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yes, that is true. Yes, the GovHR did a great job with providing us with the salary information, but we also have to understand that other municipalities, when we are recruiting, they're not our only competitors. So when other competitors may offer a higher wage for certain positions, and we want to be made competitive with not only other municipalities, as well as healthcare, manufacturing, et cetera, et cetera. So, and with this survey, it allows us to look at what other industries are offering so we can remain competitive.
Very good. Any discussion or questions on the motions before us? And as we said, it's gone through the Finance and Personnel Subcommittee where there was a kicking of the tires at that level. Hearing no further discussion? Speakers list exhausted. Roll call and adoption of the resolution. Clerk Doyle.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. Number 10, is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the contract with GovHR for staff hiring recruitment services? It's moved by Councilwoman Rutherford. Is there a second?
Move, support.
It's been seconded by Pro Tem Carrington. That motion is now before us. Clerk Doyle, would you like to speak to the matter at all?
Sure. As the council is, thank you, Mr. President. As the council is very well aware, I've had a difficult time recruiting and finding someone for the chief assistant city clerk position. We had identified a candidate, I believe it was in late October. The candidate accepted the position just to wait a few weeks and determine that he wanted to stay with his current employer. This position basically has been unfilled for almost a year now, with the exception of we did have someone in the position for 2 months. It did not work out. So we want to utilize the services of GovHR to help us with recruitment for the position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it will be our intention to utilize this and other recruiting firms for other important leadership positions, and we want to make sure we got going on this. Any other reflections, Mayor or Deputy Mayor, about the intention for us to expand the scope for other recruitment? Mayor
Yes,
Brown.
we are in fact looking at the possibility of, in the very near term, also engaging GovHR to help us with recruiting for some other vacancies here at City Hall. So stay tuned.
Okay. Any further discussion? Councilman Rutherford.
I think it's a bold move to make sure that we get the brightest and best. So I just applaud you guys, especially you, clerk, for being innovative and knowing what we need to do so that we can get the right people for the right position. So I just applaud you and the administration. That's it.
Any further discussion? Councilman Parker.
Well, first, I want to thank the HR department for the process, but knowing that we're going to have some other vacancies that we know we're going to have difficulty filling, should we just not extend this and give them more money to hire for those positions as well?
That actually was the goal, but because it was taking some time to bake that in, we didn't want to penalize the clerk for who first broached the idea with the idea of adding on. The goal is to still add on, but we just didn't want to slow down further. I don't know if the mayor or deputy mayor can give us a status update on the sausage making of that. Mayor Grimal.
Well, you summed it up well, President McGinnis. We wanted to make sure that we're meeting the clerk's immediate needs. The only thing that we're waiting on is some pricing information from the firm for these additional positions. So as soon as we have that, we will be bringing forward a resolution before council to execute a contract with GovHR for some additional positions.
Thank you, sir.
Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, speakers is exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle on the resolution.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We are at number 11. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the contract with Ameriscan for planning and city document scanning?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Goodman, The motion is now before us. The mayor and administration has the floor.
Thank you, President McGinnis. This is fairly self-explanatory. We have used Ameriscan in the past to scan and digitize a number of documents here at City Hall, but we want to extend that process to scan and digitize some additional planning documents. And so that's what this proposed contract would do. And I want to turn it over to our planning manager, Mark Andrick, and our purchasing manager, Alicia Martin, to get into the details.
Good evening again. So in the, I believe it's December 2022, Ameriscan was awarded an RFP bid to do scanning for the building services for all their documents on the ground floor level where the grants department is currently located. And that project has finished up. This is really phase 2, and that we're coming back with the same prices to continue scanning services. Planning department is included. There are a few outstanding building items. Some of them are still located here at City Hall that we need, that were not collected the first time. But there's also documents from other departments that are on that ground floor, the same level that the grants department is on, and it's going to be helped to use to clear space for future offices here in the short term. This scanning is extremely important to us to be able to digitize and find records on a quicker level. From the planning division standpoint, we cannot wait to do this, to be able to find some of our outstanding documents from more than 5 or 6 years ago. This project is slated to be not as much money as the building contract and not as long, and it's slated to be finished at the end of this year. So, and it's in 4 phases, and it's outlined within the report. And then, Alicia, do you have anything to add?
Unless there's questions from council.
Okay. The motion is now before us. Any discussion? Councilwoman James.
Are they all planning documents? Miscellaneous, is it miscellaneous all city of Pontiac, or is it miscellaneous planning?
No, it's miscellaneous for all divisions within, or all departments within the city. So there is some law, there is some CDBG, economic development. So it affects many of the departments here at the city.
So does this contract include them being able to categorize these things that they're scanning?
They're going to do the best that they can the way that it is organized already in the folders. So if it is well organized, yes, they can continue that. There are some miscellaneous stuff that we're going to do our best with OCR, object character recognition, to be able to find stuff and organize. But they'll be able to organize it in such a way that it currently remains, the physical file remains. So,
Who at the city of Pontiac is going to be overseeing them?
in terms of the scanning itself, that would be me. Particularly when it comes to planning files and the contract itself. Obviously, the managers of the different departments for the records will be responsible for those documents when it comes to FOIA requests and accessing them. But in terms of the scanning project, I've been working with the Ameriscan since we began this project with my previous experience, and we'll be seeing that through.
Could you elaborate that, your previous experience? So in a previous employment, you also helped digitize or helped ensure that that process was completed?
Previous to this, I was in a local government where we did an entire scanning project for a couple of years. But previous to that, I was in an engineering firm that, while it was not my main job, there was a period that I was actually on the other side, actually scanning. So I sort of understand how the process works, and it's helped me just be a subject matter expert to make sure we get the best product here.
Very good. Pro Tem Carrington, followed by Councilman James and Mayor Grimel.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. So what's the time frame for this completion of this particular package of scanning?
The end of this year, so in December of 2024.
Okay, and the prior situation where we're using Ameriscan, I'd like to yield to the Deputy Mayor. Has that improved the quality of the searches and looking for historical documents in that department?
I will actually defer back to the people who actually use the system.
I've actually found that we're getting so right now.
Is the microphone on?
Thank you. Right now, we're doing the import into Laserfish, but we are getting the documents within a day. About 95% of the FOIA requests we're finding the files for and doing our due diligence before passing it along to the requester.
So in summary, yes, it has improved?
Absolutely. It's improved considerably since I first started at the city, where sometimes it was taking us 2 to 3 weeks to find the paper files. It's a very seamless process. They have everything digitized in such a way that makes it easy to send to us. So it's even quicker now than it was 6 months ago.
Pro Tem?
No further questions.
Councilwoman James?
That was just I'm still concerned that, are we getting them in the correct files? Once we get it digitized, is it in the right files so that it can be accessed?
So one of the things that is being done with every scan, every folder, every document is a parcel ID, current parcel ID, and address. And then for planning cases or any other type of where there's actually an application number, that's being included. So really that is the essential information for us to find things, and that's what we're using to find that instantly, no matter how it's organized.
So everything has a parcel ID and some kind of identification based on what's in the document, whether planning, whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor Grimel?
Yeah, I wanted to put this in some broader context, and probably should have done that at the outset. When we came into office, the 8 of us, 2 years ago, there was just massive disarray in terms of paper files at City Hall. Some of that goes back to emergency management, when the emergency managers sold the DPW facility and were not properly handling a variety of documents from that facility, but also when emergency management tried to get rid of files by storing them off-site. And so both the files here and files stored off-site were in just massive disarray when we came through the doors here. And there was not much rhyme or reason to how those files were being stored. The entire former HR department down on the ground floor of City Hall was just a disorganized file storage area. And so we are doing this in large part to actually organize or reorganize files that had been in complete disarray for many, many years. And the benefit to this is that when we digitize these files, some of these files we do not have to continue to keep in paper form, so it can free up space once we digitize them. And that also allows us to ultimately transition away from storing documents off-site. But it also allows us to do a digital search for documents so that we can more comprehensively search for documents that are requested as part of a FOIA request, for example, under the Freedom of Information Act. So there are a lot of benefits to doing this, but ultimately it's about actually having documents in digital form that's easy to search and that are far, far better organized than when we walked in the door 2 years ago.
Further discussion on the motion before us? Hearing nothing further, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle, on adoption of the resolution to approve the contract with Ameriscan for city document scanning.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
Carrington?
Yes.
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 Yes. That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We're at number 12. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the budget amendment?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilwoman Rutherford. This budget amendment for fiscal year 2023-2024 is an increase of $89,285 in the budget appropriations for General Ledger Account 101-233-818.000, Professional Services, for Purchasing Division, Open Gov Software and Purchasing Consultant. Mayor and Administration, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, President McGinnis. Our purchasing division has a lot of workflow flowing through it, both because of the volume of activity that we've embarked on, but also because there was a large backlog of contractual work. Again, when we all were sworn into office 2 years ago, as a result of a lot of contracts not being properly renewed or otherwise going through the proper process previous to our being in office. And so, in fact, when we came into office, there wasn't even a purchasing manager on staff. There was not a purchasing division. So when we reconstituted the purchasing division and brought on purchasing manager Alicia Martin about a year and a half ago, they have been busy since that time really catching up on a lot of that workflow. And in order to provide them with proper support, we're proposing both the approval of the software to properly manage contracts, but also bringing on board a purchasing consultant over a finite amount of time to just help catch up on that workflow and fine-tune procedures and standard operating procedures in that purchasing division. I really want to thank our purchasing manager and her team for their diligently working on a variety of these matters and really slowly but surely catching us up on a lot of this backlog.
Thank you. And as a budget amendment, again, we're changing the budget midway through the fiscal year process to allow for a consultant and software to improve the purchasing division's operations. We previously had also approved staff and budget changes to do that same work because it's such a priority and it's such a linchpin to so many other priorities. When we were just talking tonight about the Gulf Drive and Bagley Road project, when we're talking about things going out for bid and requests for proposals and turn times and review, that goes through purchasing. When we're talking about the Youth Recreation Center and all the elements that go into making that project successful, it's the purchasing division that's running point on a lot of these things to make sure we're complying with law. We don't have to start the process over again. We don't screw the taxpayers. We're not harming, local contractors. We're working to also have compliance with what the contracts are saying, make them right in the first step. And so by having the purchasing division firing on all cylinders and a law department that's firing on all cylinders, we are actually doing the hard work early on to make it easier on the taxpayers and the residents down the road. So it might seem like insider baseball, but purchasing division is literally at the crossroads of all these other projects. When we're talking about the home repair program and all the work that has to be done, the law is very specific about how we can spend our collective taxpayer dollars. So you've got to keep it tight and right, or else so much else falls apart, or nothing happens. Roads don't get fixed, buildings don't get built, the blight doesn't get demolished, all those different things that cost more than a few bucks, and almost everything costs more than a few bucks. We want to make sure that these projects are going full speed ahead, and we need purchasing, thanks to your leadership, Manager Martin, for helping build out this operation and helping us get full speed ahead. Further discussion, Councilman Parker.
Just running one quick question. We're getting the software plus the consultant, and thank you.
Yep, if you just want to explain for the council and the community the practical application of that and make that microphone come to life.
Yes. So the OpenGov solution is going to be the cloud-based purchasing software that we're going to use to do the vendor onboarding, the solicitation management. We're currently using BidNet to do solicitation management. We'll be switching over to OpenGov for the reasons that I stated earlier about the embedding of information, having posting readily available, not having that delay with IT having to post it a day later, those kind of things. So there's a lot of improvement with the OpenGov solution. It's also going to take on the contract management component and then also evaluation, vendor performance evaluation. As we're getting bids in, being able to evaluate based on criteria, having that tabulated, having that in the system. And then the PCG, which is the Procurement Consulting Group, that is the procurement professional that's coming on site to help us get caught up, like with the solicitations, with organizing contracts, making sure that's in the depository. So those are the primary tests that person's going to be working on. There's also a free assessment that PCG will be providing for purchasing in terms of identifying what the deficiencies are, the areas that we can make improvements, and that report will be coming to council.
Okay, so how long do you think we'll be in need of a consultant?
I have a contract for 6 months.
6 months. Based on the work that you do, and I know it's a large undertaking, and we keep adding stuff, is that long enough?
So what we're going to do is take that 6 months to evaluate. The person's going to be on site working, and we'll be evaluating as we're making progress with what our goals are and our objectives are, if we'll need additional time thereafter. But for so far, I've dedicated 6 months. We have a kickoff meeting next week where I'll be talking to them face-to-face about what our initiatives are. They already kind of have that because we already have a contract that was developed based on those concepts. But we're starting off with 6 months. We're hoping that will be adequate and sufficient. I'm hoping it'll be adequate and sufficient. And this is based off an analysis, a spend analysis that I conducted with BSNA, which is our financial solution. So we're looking at what's coming through the pipeline that's exceeding $10,000, right? Because our major purchase is $10,000 or more, have to be competitively bidded. That means we have to create a request for quote or a request for proposal. So we're looking at that massive onslaught of what's coming to us, and we're hoping that within the 6 months period, we'll be able to, again, get caught up with the backlog of where we are now and being current.
So the reason I asked that question is because I understand that you're trying to get caught up, but I also was listening to all the council meetings, there's stuff that's getting added too. And so my concern is how do we catch up if we keep adding to, if we don't add enough people to do what needs to be done?
So another element that we're adding is automation, which we don't have right now. So when I mentioned in the OpenGov the solution about vendor onboarding, that's going to be automated. So all of our suppliers will be registering through the OpenGov solution. We'll be able to find out if they're woman-owned, minority-owned, that kind of data that we're not quite collecting right now. We'll be able to collect that through the registration process through OpenGov. So that's part of the automation that I'm talking about. We're using templates. So templates for solicitations, templates for contracts, that's going to help move those processes along a lot faster. Right now, we're manually making those changes in documents. And with these built-in templates, we won't have to manually do that. It's just a matter of answering questions that we're going to have, and then that data will populate into those templates.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Rutherford.
So, to the administration, is the purchasing department currently understaffed?
Are there any vacancies, Deputy Mayor?
The answer directly to the question, are there any vacancies? No. Currently understaffed? Question mark, we don't know. That is part of the reason why we have the consultant coming on and why they will be working with us for 6 months. So with all of the automation that we're adding, we don't know yet if we will need another body. And if we do need another body, we don't know if that another body needs to be an administrative body, or if that body needs to be a buyer or a sourcer. So that is the whole idea of this, so that we can determine, once we make the adjustments that these contracts are allowing, do we need to add more full-time employees or not?
My follow-up question is, with the current status of so many RFPs that have not been fulfilled, the current status of contractors who have said to me, some of them are actually in the audience, who tried to register to be contractors here for upcoming projects. How do we delegate this if the software is not user-friendly, i.e. I don't understand it, I don't know how to use it? How are we going to make sure that these same contractors who have tried to become vendors with the city, make it more accessible to them so that they can stop complaining to me? I yield to the president to talk to you.
I'll give the floor to the manager to answer that.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that we're doing. One is creating a user guide for the new solution, so when it's rolled out, this will be something that we'll share with all of our suppliers, how to register. We're also going to be holding Supplier Connect events. This is a new initiative by purchasing, starting in the month of February, one night. An hour, we're going to be sharing information with local suppliers on how to do business with the city of Pontiac. That's going to be in the month of February, March, and April, and May. Those are called Supplier Connect events. And during those sessions, we'll be able to show them how to navigate OpenGov, how to access OpenGov, how to register for OpenGov. We also have a kiosk that we set up in the purchasing office. So any supplier can stop by any time during business hours, and we'll show them how to get onto the solution, how to navigate it, how to pull down information. That was the sole purpose of establishing that kiosk.
Just so that I'm clear, and the reason why I'm asking this is because the number one complaint is that it is not user-friendly, it is not accessible, and we have licensed contractors who could be making a living helping to support our home repair program, our other programs feel left out, and they are actually licensed and bonded, not just saying they licensed and their name is KK and Kiki, but actually licensed and bonded. So I had them come tonight because I wanted to hear on the record how you guys are going to make sure that they're solicited and so that they have a seat at the table. So that's why I asked you that. Thank you.
And also, I want to point out too that the OpenGov solution, the subscription will be free. So right now, BidNet, there's a free subscription side and then there's the paid side. The free side lets you access the solution, but you don't get alerts. So when addendums are posted, documents are posted to a solicitation, you won't get alerted. With the OpenGov solution, once you register, you'll get those alerts for free. So that's another improvement that we're making with the OpenGov solution. And we'll be here. So I'm here all the time. So come see me.
Thank you. Councilwoman James, you have the floor.
Yeah, two questions. First, you said that, can you just tell us when OpenGov, in other words, when that new process is actually going to kick off? So if there's anybody listening that would like to sign up, once we get into the new process, that they would know how to do that. The other question I have, though, is for the consultant. You said this is a 6-month contract, and will they give you the recommendations or give council recommendations after those 6 months, or is there any chance that we could get preliminary recommendations by when we start budget process for this year?
So to answer, is it okay for me to
Yes,
answer?
you have the floor.
Okay. So to answer the first question, it's the implementation process for OpenGov is 3 months. And that's going to start in February because we're at the end of January now. So they're going to be starting in February with implementation. That's all of getting the templates to them, the contract templates to them, the solicitation templates, all of that. And the building out of those templates is starting next month. In terms of the assessment, the free assessment, that's going to be done independently of the consulting working with us with the solicitations and contract management. That's going to go on as soon as they begin. They start next month. Again, I have a kickoff meeting with them on Thursday. So not Thursday, I'm sorry, tomorrow. And so once that kickoff meeting and the contract is signed, we'll be able to move forward with that assessment. But that'll be completed before the 6-month period.
Okay, so we should be getting that in the next couple of months then?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's the first thing they're going to do is the assessment while the consultant is helping me.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion before us? With that, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle, on the adoption of the resolution to approve the budget amendment increasing by $89,285 the budget appropriations for the Purchasing Division's professional services. Roll call.
Yes.
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 That motion carries. The resolution is adopted and the budget is amended. Thank you very much for your time and your hard work. We are at public comment, an opportunity for our neighbors to share their thoughts on anything before us. Pro Tem Carrington, the requests.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. I'm actually going to probably mention a whole bunch of names before somebody comes up because I don't know who is here, is not here. Mr. Clyde Kemp, I don't see him in, okay. Jabron Maddox. Bill Maxey. Sherelle Stevens. Charles and Miss Curtis. Attorney Cheryl Hall. Patrice Waterman. Jamal Belt. James C. Pam Reed. George Brenton. Mr. Woods, I don't see. Pastor Teresa Lee, I don't see. Miss Bernice Thomas, Miss Rosalind Norcross.
The microphone, is it on? It's the button at the bottom right of the black. Yep, it's live now.
Good evening. I'm Rosalind Northcross, chairperson of the Neighborhood Association for District 1. Since becoming chair, numerous residents have expressed their concern about the continued noise coming from M1 Concourse. We conducted a survey during January to determine the extent that the noise from M1 has annoyed and disturbed the comfort and peace and health of residents in District 1. I'd like to share with you some of the results from the survey. 91% of the respondents indicated that they had been disturbed by noise from M1 in the past 12 months. Nearly 50% indicated that their sleep had been disturbed because of the noise. Within the past 12 months, when standing outside their homes, almost 100% replied they were disturbed a lot. 90% indicated that M1 noise also disturbed them inside their house. All major health organizations, including the EPA, CDC, and World Health Organization, recognize that noise can be a significant health hazard. Pontiac has noise ordinances which predate the arrival of M1 in our city, and they were enacted to protect the health and well-being of the residents. Between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m., commercial businesses are limited to 71 decibels, and residential areas are limited to 61 decibels. This past Saturday, representatives from community organizations in District 1 met with the leadership team at M1 to share concerns about the noise. We were so hopeful that since M1 is in the process of expanding, that they would include plans to reduce the impact of their noise levels on the neighboring community. However, we were told that they have no plans to make changes that will reduce the noise. The M1 leadership appeared to be unaware of the city's noise ordinance and their obligation to abide within it. We were told that M1 monitors noise levels on site and limits the noise generated to from 98 to 110 decibels. The acceptable limits at M1 far exceed the levels of Pontiac's noise ordinances by 37 to 40 decibels. We are requesting a moratorium on approval of all new plans until the Planning Commission has included noise as a standard for approval. This past fall, the city's code enforcement department monitored noise during the M1 Speed Fest and found that it exceeded the city's noise ordinance. Pontiac citizens need protection from the health hazards created by excessive noise. We are asking that the City Council implement a monitoring system or plan to enforce the noise ordinance already a part of the municipal code.
That does conclude your time.
Thank you, Ms. Norcross. Marcia Rogers.
Pontiac citizens need protection from the health hazards created by excessive noise. We are asking the City Council to implement a monitoring system to enforce the noise ordinance that's already a part of municipal code. In closing, we'd like to share some of the comments from the survey. Sleep deprived. I work midnights, and due to the car racing noise, I can't sleep. Therefore, I am unproductive as I shouldn't be. And so, I am written up. I have complained at meetings about noise. Next, we need sound barriers to prevent noise from reaching the neighborhood. I sleep with earplugs because of it, because of the noise. Add buffer walls, as the state is doing or are going to do for people who live near highways. That's our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
We would like to also invite you to our neighborhood meeting the second Saturday at the Kappa Center at 1 o'clock. Okay?
Thank
Thank you.
Dr. Deirdre Waterman.
Last week, I brought up the fact that the ARPA small business grants program hasn't even started, and that is late, 3 weeks late, it sounds like, in terms of when applicants were supposed to hear. A lot of applicants are looking out there and saying, when are we going to hear about this money? They can use this grant money. I did hear Councilman Rutherford ask the same question last week. I also heard her say that she had been specially contacted to get a grant for homeowners repair, and she had been able to make an application and got her response within 15 minutes. So I hope she will equally press for the others who need to have these grants who were promised under ARPA to make sure they get theirs too. So I will see whether that's carried out and how much longer it takes for that to happen. But one of the things I did create, which was branded under my administration, was something called Spirit of Pontiac. And that was to continue to advance the legacy projects, the 10 major areas in which the city had progressed under my administration. And I actually created a Facebook community forum so that we could answer questions that people had. So some of the things that I don't have time to fully discuss here, people can look that up under the Spirit of Pontiac Community Forum. But one of the things that I've been advocating for to help the district groups and community groups in terms of their projects have been happening because some of us come to the microphone and talk about it. So I do understand the District 1 proposal right here. And I think the most surprising thing that they found out was that, they've been complaining about this for years and years. And the current mayor came in and told me he didn't even know he'd only had 2 complaints. So that's why they went ahead and did the survey, to show the depth of this and how much it disturbed the peace of life for the citizens in District 1. Now, we do know how to control that because when I was mayor, the previous owner-manager worked with the city and engineers to show what could be done physically to the lot to lessen the noise, dampen the noise. And so he left. He was pushed out, and so the current management has not pursued that. So one of the things I'll continue to come and to advocate for that is to see if that can be worked out for the peaceful enjoyment of the citizens of District 1. But, and it works. I keep coming. People ask me why I keep coming and keep asking me questions and asking me to come up here and say more things. But we haven't been able to make progress. One of the things is I was able to get the council to not to put any marijuana facilities in neighborhoods. We got that done. We also got the mayor to go ahead and push forward the agreement for the VIBA so the retirees, pensioners can be that much close to get increased pension. I see it's 2 seconds, but look at Spirit of Pontiac and what I don't get a chance to finish this evening. I answer some questions
That concludes your time.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Pastor Cappy?
Question. When Brenda Carter first went over to Japan, was that not an educational coordinated trip with the exchange students? And if it was the main purpose in going at the time, is that still in existence today? Are we still bringing kids over from there and sending ours over there? Number 2, I remember the last few years, the Peterson Centers had beautiful Black History Month display, and I didn't hear you mention that, but it's worth noting. The WRC having money to give back to us at the end, is that guaranteed money? Or if they're short of funds, do we just don't get that difference? And then, most importantly, I was at a business luncheon this past week, and of course, the things that happen here are discussed and everybody has an opinion and we all know that we're the right ones, and you know how the conversation goes, you all have them. But I got hit with a bomb that I didn't expect. And I don't know that it's true, but I have to ask the question. I was told that our grant writer, Ms. Borngesser, is leaving us. And I think that would be a tragedy in terms of all the wonderful things she's done. But I don't know that it's true. And I was told that it was imminent. And I think we should kind of know about that.
Thank you, Pastor Kathy. Mr. Carlton Jones.
Yeah, I want to get to workforce development. You guys know I speak about that, but hopefully it's not an old song. But one thing I do want to say that was on the agenda today, I've constantly also brought the fact about a master plan. And there was one thing on the agenda about that piece of property that was being discussed. If you listen real close, we have to be very conscious of making zoning changes without specific projects, especially when they're close to residential property. When it's close to residential property and you don't know what's going to go in there, you need to be very skeptical about making a zoning change. Now, I don't know, it seems like it's not been determined what they want to do with it. They excluded some things, but I think those residents got a right to know if you're going to change the zoning to something like a commercial close to residential. The residents need to know before you change it. And if I'm not mistaken, they said they had changed it before the C3, but it was for a specific project. So just be conscious of that. Just be conscious of that. That's right there is because when we don't have a master plan and we start changing all these zonings, that affect residential property the most. Just be conscious of it. The other thing I want to talk about is now, workforce development. Tonight, we heard about the great things that's going to happen downtown with Oakland County. We talked about the road work. Now, if anybody knows the state of workforce development right now, it's hard to find talent. You cannot wait until that come around and think we're going to get Pontiac people plugged in. I've been down here trying to say we have to plan ahead to develop the talent to be ready. If we don't get people prepared for that road work, we won't have people like when they did Franklin. It should have started happening when I was sharing before, back in September, to preparing for what we know we have coming. This is economic justice for Pontiac. If you know about the Infrastructure Act that the president put in place, it's about economic justice. Don't look at infrastructure as just for brick and mortar. They're trying to correct the wrongs, especially in Justice 40 areas like Pontiac. And if you don't know what a Justice 40 area is, look it up. But we're going to be doing something in Black History Month to make people here more engaged in it. I want to say that we're going to be focusing on 3 areas in the month of February. We're going to be focusing on the seniors, we're going to be focusing on the churches, and we're going to be focusing on the schools. So right now, I'm scheduled to be with TDC at the Senior Citizens at Bourne on February 6th, and hopefully with the pastors on the 8th. And we're looking by the end of the year, or excuse me, the end of the month, we're going to have a major engagement program right in the city of Pontiac. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Billy Swayzer.
Hello, I'm Billy Swayzer. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having my neighborhood snow removed on the streets. I think it was last week. Most of the time it doesn't get removed, but they came by and did the streets in my neighborhood. The second thing I want to talk about was, of course, now I can't remember. No, it is the VEBA and a change in the insurance for the retirees. On January 1st, we went to, I don't know if we went from or whatever, but our deductible for our insurance was $500. And then on March 1st of this year, it became a $100 deductible. I just want to know, why wasn't it better planned and it wouldn't have been January 1st of this year for the deductible to be $100? I have friends who are retirees of the city of Pontiac, and they're confused about the $500 and the $100. I called the VIVA to talk to them about this, and a guy whose name began with N, he sounded like a foreigner, and he said he was a certified insurance specialist, but he didn't seem to know much about the insurance and said call Blue Cross, and they should take it. Well, if Genesis is the insurance processor, why don't they know what insurance we have and how it goes? That seems kind of what they should know. But, and then the second complaint I have is about the people answering the phone. I spoke to a young black woman, and I had to ask her some questions. She cut me short, and she was going to tell me the answer she wanted. I said, would you please just let me finish my questions before you cut me off and answer my question? So if you could just tell me why. Because I know, being a part of CPRA, they knew that they planned on changing insurances. Why did they not make it January 1st? It would have been less confusing for the elderly retirees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swayzer. Ms. Beatrice Wright.
Good evening again, Council. I hope I can get through some of this stuff. First of all, as it relates to Oakland County coming in to revitalize and re-innovate and reconnect, I hope that they will look at this community right next to the Phoenix Center, and I'm talking about the Phoenix Apartments. It's like going into a third world country, going into the Phoenix Apartments. I go there weekly because I have a relative that lives there. And it is full of all manner of vermin. And the people there, I think, have become complacent in that they think this is the best they can have. And as a city that is concerned about its citizens, I hope, and I spoke briefly to the gentleman from the county, I hope that they can do some outreach, because it is an embarrassment to me, and it's scary to me as well. I wanted to thank the council always for your work, your hard work, and I wanted to say something. It's not from me, but it is from a citizen who is among the 9% who support the M1, and she asked me to say this for her. She said she didn't want to be a part of the she was called the survey, thank you. She didn't want to be a part of the survey, but she thought that the M1 was doing wonderful things for our community, that when she closes her door, she is not bothered by the sound. Now, my opinion of M1 is that because they know that they have so many of our citizens who feel that they are a noise hazard. I don't feel that they've done what they should to outreach to the community. For instance, they gave us, we hired a bus from M1 a couple of weeks ago from Bowen Center. They canceled us due to the weather. We had paid for the bus. First of all, every bus we get from M1 should be free. They should send that bus, and they have more than one, too. They should send those buses to pick us up and take us where we want to go within this Detroit metropolitan area. Wanted to say that one of our citizens on Pearsall Street told me that not only did her street not get shoveled, nor was it salted. Wanted to say that as we think about Black History Month, and the contributions that Black Americans have done for our society, and that the Black and African diaspora has contributed so much. Mr. McGinnis, I'm going to ask a point of privilege, because when you do that, you distracted me. Okay? So just give me a point of privilege so I can say what I want
Sure.
to say as it regards
Absolutely. I'm
Black
not trying
History
to
Month.
distract people.
I
Mhm.
understand.
I'm trying to make it so that people don't feel caught off guard when you're told your time is up because you're reading. I don't want to screw up people. So before I said
Okay.
15 seconds, and that was a problem. And so, Ms. Miller, I'm not trying intentionally to throw people off.
I'll
You will
quickly-
absolutely have your time, Ms. Wright.
I'll quickly finish. As it relates to Black History Month, I want you to realize that per the last census, Black Americans had a median income of $48,000 compared to $74,000 compared to white Americans. That is a starkly significant difference of more than 35%. So while we have made gains and contributions, we stand so far behind the majority race that it behooves all of us to vote, because with government comes regulation and comes monies that will make for social justice. And finally, I'll save for next week. Thank you for that time.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Ms. Darlene Clark.
Good evening. This is for the council and administration for clarity. We are in our mayor and council are using the words for the last 3 weeks, transparency. So this statement I'm making to you is not an insult. It's actually a clarity of transparency. One of the questions is back, and I thank Ms. Rice for clearing about the Seniors Phoenix Center. That Phoenix Centers, those people are worried. She says they're being complacent and staying where they are. But a lot of people are worrying what's going to happen when that 1200 Telegraph or the Phoenix Center parking lot and everything is explode. They don't have a reassurance that they can stay there. They're living on a day-to-day basis what's going to happen next. And that's being transparent and letting these people that have the opportunity to get prepared for whatever come and not at a last-minute state. And number two, what I wanted to address to the people, the council and the administration as well, explain to the people, because they are in a state of confusion as to when DPW or the administration bring about to the council, and President, you can probably address this, of a financial or money to be approved. At the last minute, you have questions, but yet you still move forward in approving it. Have you discussed this prior, or you just feel that at that time, because the pressure is put on you to make a vote, why can't you stand still until the following week to address the whole issue and to realize what you're truly doing? Because tonight you did make a contract, and you did not put explanation as to how much that money is going. The decision that you made should not have been made, and I'm saying that as a resident. It should not have been made. You should have put off that decision until the following week to understand the consequences of that contract. Secondly, third, what I want to bring to your attention, too, transparency with the people. Give the people credit. The people are very bright. It's time for you to be reelected into those seats. Now, whether you care whether you're going to be reelected or whether you don't, that's fine too. But understand this. In the Bible, it says your reputation is all that you have. It's all that you have. You have nothing else. When all is said and done and the dust is cleared and the ink is dry, you only have your reputation. You may think that what you're doing for the people is being transparency, but you're giving the people small bits and pieces of what's there. M1 has been a problem for the city of Pontiac from day one. GERS has been promised to give people that money, and it has not been given. Now you're bringing in businesses within the community, and you're smothering out the residents. But remember this, your reputation is all that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Ms. Gloria Miller.
Okay, Mayor, get ready to write, because I haven't been here in a while. And I got several questions residents have called me on, and some that I want to mention. First one I'm going to mention, the MLK Bridge. Well, we're giving out all this money. Where are we on the bridge? Have you received the money for the bridge yet? Have we started work on the bridge? And you're bringing in all these businesses, but they got to ride through the city of Pontiac and can't go out on one end. So that makes a lot of sense. A lot of construction is coming on the south side. We got the loop coming. We get to look like we got Bagley coming. I used to love to go that way. I don't go that way anymore. I go all the way through Auburn Hills to get out of here because it's so bad for them over there. My heart just bleeds for the south side, and now more construction. It makes you kind of wonder, does it have anything to do with M1? That's what you guys got to think about on the south side. Everything started coming for M1. Is it about you or is it about them? And as you said, mister, you said you had paid for the trip and he had nerve enough to come pick you up. I always say, I don't like to talk about God because I believe it or not, I am very religious. That's why I stopped coming down here for a while because I had to get myself together because, the Bible says you know each other. I don't know anybody up there. And so I had to draw back and get back to my real self, who I am, because I don't do things for anything. I don't need anything. God is good to me. I just want my people to be right. With that being said, Mary, that's why I came down, because I couldn't get any answer from Mr. Nash. And I know Jim Nash. On Featherstone Street, and you guys talking about putting that building there, is stink like crap, okay, from Bay Street all the way down to my end, Boyd Street. I had a resident call me a couple of weeks ago. I have tried, Mr. Nash, no one will give me a message. I talked to several people, try to get the sewage. They're saying poop is coming in their house. That's what it smelled like going down that street. From Bay Street all the way down to Boyd. Please check that out for them because they are sick. One lady called me, she's an older lady. She said, I be so sick at night, I can't stand it. It's coming from that sewer down the street on Updike. It's got to be probably underneath, some kind of way you got to figure it out. It's bad. And I said, I wasn't even coming down no time soon. But for her, and since they didn't answer me, that I don't believe, if you don't answer me, I'm coming down and put it out publicly. Didn't want to do that. But let's do it. And I'm going to wait on your discussion of what you're going to do for those residents there. I wanted to mention also rezoning the neighborhood. You're very correct. When you start going into the neighborhood, you're going to lose your property value. I don't care what they say. City of Pontiac has a knack of coming here, putting businesses here, and then they leave. Okay? And then the gentleman didn't show up tonight. That tells you a lot about him right there, the credibility. If you want this, why you're not here? Second of all, and then in regards to GERS, God got this. He really do. He gonna reveal it all.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Ms. Veronica Taylor.
First, I honor God, who's the head of our life. I got two quick questions. For Black History Month, we have Mr. Bill Maxey. Can we honor him? And Miss Maddie Hatchett. Can we honor them? Because they have been leading the way for this city and trying to fight for this city for many years. That's one thing I want. And with HR looking for somebody to work in the clerk's office, can it be any of our residents that live here or one of our clerks that work in? Can they put in an application to work? Those are my two questions. And may God bless all of y'all up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. That concludes public comment, President McGinnis.
All right. Public comment concluded. We're at discussion. Number 13 on the agenda. Want to very briefly make sure the community knew that the Oakland County Sheriff abandoned vehicles in neighborhood streets. They did a targeted action this month. So they tagged 303 vehicles. This is for neighborhood streets. So in the neighborhood streets, they were seeing if there were any abandoned vehicles. 303 vehicles were tagged, and ultimately 44 vehicles were towed. So they've done these sweeps at different seasons in the last year, and they've just started this year with that as well. If after that you still have seen abandoned or disabled vehicles, it is not allowed in Pontiac to abandon vehicles or vehicles that are not operable. They can't be chilling in the street. That is against the city's ordinance, and the Sheriff Department will act on that. If you've seen something in your neighborhood street that's recently popped up and it's a problem, even if you don't know for sure what the deal is and you're just concerned, you can contact the Sheriff Department. If you don't want to go that route, you can contact one of your city council members and we can try and get that information to the appropriate sources without even invoking names. So I just want to share that recent action. Any other discussion on that in terms of abandoned vehicles or disabled vehicles on our city streets? Okay. All right, the next item on our agenda is a resolution to go into closed session. Under state law, there are certain options that local governmental bodies can do to go into basically behind closed doors. The session is closed. And so I wasn't trying to be crazy, but the city council meeting will proceed. We'll vote when we come out of closed session and document the time that happens, and then we'll continue with the agenda. Most of the formal business is complete. You are welcome to stay. We don't necessarily know how long it'll be. We're not trying to make it long. God knows we're not trying to make it long, but you are welcome to stay. You're not required to stay. I just want to make sure everyone knows that. Many of you in the room, this ain't your first rodeo. You know that, but that's the deal. But is there a motion to approve the resolution to proceed in closed session to consider matters exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal law in accordance with Michigan Case Law 15.268 subsection H that identifies the part of state law as all closed session resolutions must do? It identifies what qualifies for the closed session. So that was moved by, was it Councilwoman Rutherford?
Yes.
Seconded by Pro Tem Carrington. That motion is before us. Any discussion on the motion to go into closed session? Hearing nothing further, roll call Clerk Doyle on the motion to go into closed session.
Carrington?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We're at 8:50 p.m. and Ms. Wright just did a sort of housekeeping note. She wanted me to clarify her statement that the Golden Opportunity Club would have been charged, but it was going to our day trip committee. Is that right? That's set the record straight. All right. And we'll speak to some of those questions from residents when we do our closing comments later, but you may always just want to watch that later on when you can fast forward to it. We are in closed session at 8:50 p.m. and we'll vote when we come back out. Is there a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. It has been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilwoman James to come out of closed session. Any debate on that motion? Hearing no debate, roll call on adoption of the motion. Clerk Doyle.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes?
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
That motion carries. We are out of closed session at 9:31 p.m. All right, we're proceeding with the balance of the agenda. We are at number 15, and between 15 and 42 are announcements of upcoming activities in the community. We shared with you the many updates about Black History Month activities. And that'll be reflected on our agendas moving forward until the events happen. And next up in the district meetings is District 5. District 5 has their meeting on February 8th, Thursday, February 8th, 6 p.m. in the Lion's Den of Pontiac City Hall. That is the next meeting of the respective 7 districts, unless I've forgotten something.
It's 5 o'clock. We changed the time.
Oh, I'm sorry. So 5 p.m., that's great news. So great information. I'll make sure that's updated. 5 o'clock p.m. is when the District 5 meeting takes place at the Lion's Den of Pontiac City Hall, and there's also a virtual option. With that, Mayor's Office, your communications.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'm just going to announce one item, which is time sensitive, which is we've had 2 really great tenant rights town hall meetings. We had one 2 Saturdays ago, and then we had an additional one last night, both at the Bowen Center. The third and final tenant rights town hall in this series is this Thursday. That's February 1st, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. right here in the City Council chambers in the Pontiac City Hall. And I do want to just acknowledge and thank Councilman Mikhail Goodman for his leadership in helping to promote these town halls and being present for the town halls. So thank you, Councilman.
Clerk's Office, your communications.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to remind the public, the clerk's office is still looking for Election Day inspectors for the presidential primary, which will be on February 27th. Contact our office at 248-758-3008 if you're interested in working.
Thank you. We are now at closing comments. Mayor Grimel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few items, in large part just to try to answer some questions that arose from the audience. There was a couple of questions actually about how the Phoenix Place apartments might be impacted as a result of the county's move to downtown and the demolition of the Phoenix Center. The short answer is there will not be any impact. The Phoenix Place Apartments is its own privately owned facility, and it is not part of the project that's being proposed by Oakland County. Now, there is one aspect to that, which is that the two are physically connected, and so the demolition of the Phoenix Center will have to be done very carefully to ensure that there's no damage done to the neighboring structure of the Phoenix Place Apartments. There was some reference by a member of the public to an implosion of the Phoenix Center. To my knowledge, that is not the proposed approach. That has yet to be fully determined because the county hasn't gone out to bid yet for demolition services. But given that the Phoenix Center is close not just to the Phoenix Place Apartments, but also to the 2 office towers and connected to those office towers that the county has purchased, I would imagine that the county and any demolition contractor are going to be very sensitive to doing that demolition in a very careful, controlled, deliberative way that doesn't damage any of the adjacent buildings. In a similar vein, we are very well aware of the poor conditions at Phoenix Place Apartments. We are actively enforcing against the owner and management company of Phoenix Place Apartments and have been in close communications with residents there so that we can advocate for them and make sure that we're doing everything in our power to hold the landlord there accountable. This is something that I take very seriously. It's something that our code enforcement manager, Jack McIntyre, takes very seriously, and we are actively and in a very hands-on working on this issue. I do just want to say a member of the public made a comment that is just factually inaccurate. I have long heard concerns from many people in the community about the noise from M1 Concourse. And in fact, there was a comment made at a community meeting that somebody at City Hall said they had only heard 2 concerns or complaints about it. And I specifically said that I don't know who that was, but I've heard many more concerns and complaints than just 2. And so I actually said exactly the opposite of what the member of the public suggested. I also wanted to answer some of the questions that rose about the Bagley and Gulf Drive work. There was a question about whether or not the Water Resources Commission would fully reimburse us. And the contract that was approved tonight, it's my understanding that that does in fact contractually require the Water Resources Commission to fully reimburse us. That's the whole point of the contract tonight. So that will prevent the Water Resources Commission from claiming they don't have the funds or the money. They are contractually obligated to reimburse us. Also, I want to mention that I don't know the last time that there was a student exchange with Kusatsu. In the past, that was orchestrated and coordinated by the school district here with the school district there. And I would love to see that reinstituted, but that will ultimately be up to the school districts involved and not city government. I also want to mention in terms of the M1 Concourse, there was a comment made about the M1 shuttle buses. Although a substantial amount of money to fund those M1 shuttle buses is raised by M1 Concourse as part of their American Speed Festival, that money is contributed, and I don't know the exact amount, but I think it's somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000 that M1 Concourse raises every year. That money is contributed to the Pontiac Community Foundation, which actually operates those shuttle buses. And so if people have some suggestions or desires in terms of the range of those shuttle buses or what they're used for, I encourage them to reach out to the Pontiac Community Foundation, which actually operates them. Also wanted to quickly touch base on some of the questions about road work and the MLK Bridge. The MLK Bridge, as I've expressed in the past, is slated to get $10 million from the state of Michigan. That was appropriated as part of this year's budget, which went into effect October 1st. We have been persistently asking the state, both verbally and in writing, to expedite getting us the actual grant agreement for that $10 million. They continue to assure us that that is on its way. But as you heard from the county, there's been some delay in actually getting some of these contracts in place for appropriations from the state. And so while the state continues to assure us that that $10 million is coming for the Martin Luther King Bridge, we have not actually gotten a written agreement yet. And until we get that written agreement and sign that written agreement, we're not able to actually begin work on the Martin Luther King Bridge. In terms of the roads on the south side that are subject to a substantial amount of work, we're quite happy to say that after many years of residents on the south side being neglected and not having their roads repaired, that we were able to repair Franklin this past year and that we're doing Bagley and Gulf Drive this coming year. I've heard nothing but positive things from the residents on the south side about that work finally getting done. Understanding, of course, that it is an inconvenience while that work is happening. People are very happy once that work is done and very happy that we're actually investing in infrastructure on the south side. The sewer treatment plant, which I think is the source of some of the odor in the area of Featherstone, that is now owned by the Water Resources Commission because of the emergency manager selling that to the Water Resources Commission. But I will take that issue up with the Water Resources Commission. And finally, I do want to just acknowledge that we have 2 great employees leaving the city, both our grants director, Alex Borngesser, and our finance director, Tim Sadowski. We're very disappointed by their departure. They're leaving for other outstanding opportunities. We wish them well, and we are putting in place plans for their succession to make sure that the great work of those departments continues.
Deputy Mayor, any closing comments?
None, thank you.
Clerk Doyle?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just in response to a member from the public asked about hiring in the clerk's office, we do hire temporary workers to assist us during election time that actually work in the office. We've hired one Pontiac resident who actually is Spanish speaking, so that's very helpful. And we're in the process of hiring another Pontiac resident. So the two temps that will be in the clerk's office are both Pontiac residents. In relationship to an absentee ballot update, we have received 2,919 absentee ballot applications for absentee ballots, and we've actually mailed out the 2,919 ballots. 642 of those ballots have been returned. I want to remind the public they can return their ballots by one of three ways: to one of our official city drop boxes. They're all labeled. There's one right outside of City Hall, one at the Bowen Center, one at Ruth Peterson Center, and then one at Walt Whitman Elementary School. Those drop boxes are available 24 hours a day and are under 24-hour surveillance. You can also return your ballot in person in the clerk's office during normal business hours. That's 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, or you can put it in the mail. And this time, postage is prepaid, so you don't even have to put a stamp on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Parker, District 5.
I'll just say good evening, Pontiac. Have a great evening.
God bless you. Councilman James, will you follow that tradition?
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to add much, though, to that. I do want to say, though, we had our first meeting of the year for District 4 on January the 26th, I believe, 25th. It was a great meeting. We had actually the best attendance that we have had at a district meeting. And I love seeing that. We talked about community projects, and we did settle on 3 that we'll talk about at a later time. But other than that, I want to thank all of the residents who came out. I want to encourage residents who have not come out, not had the opportunity to share their thoughts, and just meet other neighbors, to come to our next meeting, which will take place on February the 22nd. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. And with that, I'll say again, happy birthday to our fantastic President Michael McGinnis, and good night.
Thank you. District 3, Councilman Goodman.
I will keep it short by saying, obviously, happy birthday to the council president. And then also mentioning, thank you to everyone who came out for the tenants' rights town halls that have been done with the city, along with the mayor's office and our main departments who have really been showing out to make sure that people know about it. And then please do come to the one that is this Thursday at 11 a.m. Here in City Hall to finish out that series. So with that, good night.
Thank you. Your birthday's up next. Councilman Rutherford, District 1.
If you set out to be liked, you will be prepared to compromise on anything at any time, and you will achieve absolutely nothing. That was said by Margaret Thatcher. I find it laughable that a person who had a U-Haul come to City Hall, take thousands of undocumented sensitive information about fighting for ARP funds, tries to tell me how to fight for my district. I find it sad that even after an audit, the same individual deems she is qualified to give advice. I would rather take advice from a woman of substance than a woman who deems she's above reproach. In 2024, the motto of District 1 is very simple. We are standing on business. Bagley and Golf Drive is being repaired because we are standing on business. Kevin Hennon, who is our code enforcement officer, his number is 248-758-2812 because we are standing on business. DPW is in charge of garbage and road repair. Please contact them because DPW is standing on business. The grant department is moving forward with small business assistance because District 1 people are standing on business. The community review tells you everything that occurred in our district because our motto in District 1 is that we are standing on business. To the 54 people who attended our last week meeting, you came because you are standing on business. I will see you next month at March the 24th meeting, which is located at the Alley Cat from 3 to 5, because our motto is we are standing on business. We are not allowing people to run through our emotions. We are not allowing people to gaslight us. We are not allowing any individual in 2024 in District 1 to divide this community, because we are standing on business. At the end of the day, you either gonna stand on business or you're gonna be the author of confusion. And the question becomes, what are you truly doing with that 3 minutes at that mic? Are you truly about the business of the people? Are you standing on confusion? Because when you were at this side, you did nothing but make it about you instead of making it about the people. I ask that you keep us in District 1 in your prayers. I ask that you remember what our motto is. We are standing on business in 2024. And if you need to contact me, please always know that my number is 248-758-3017, because I, Councilwoman Rutherford, am standing on business in 2024. God bless you and good night.
Thank you. District 6, Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. First, happy birthday to you. It's the big 4-0. Okay, good. Great. Just want to, there was a couple of things said tonight, and questions was asked concerning the marijuana referendum that's on the ballot. I have requested information from the administration concerning that so we can actually educate the community based on the facts or for that particular referendum. I do have some information that if you give me a call at 248-758-3014, I will give you some information concerning the pros and cons of that particular measure. So I'm still hoping to receive some. I also request the clerk's office as well to provide some information. So I'm hoping that the administration actually receives something from the attorney that they said they was requesting information for, so we can actually educate our community concerning this ballot referendum. Pontiac District 6 community meeting is Thursday, February the 22nd at 5 to 6:30 at Ruth Peterson Senior Center. Please come out, learn about what's happening in the city as well as what's happening in the district. I need your information concerning community projects. Again, I'm asking you to come out and come up with some examples of what you want to see in the district. Also, I also want to think of everything that happened this past week. I wasn't able to make a couple of events, but I definitely see the council and administration actually is working together collectively to make and serve this city. So again, thank you for that and good night.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Mike McGinnis, representing District 7. Thank you for the birthday well wishes. I'm delighted to turn 40 this week, and I've already, based on the announcements just here, started getting text messages from some of our residents. So thank you to the Jimenez family and the Robinson family for already texting your birthday well wishes while you're watching tonight. Thank you to our residents who care. Thank you to our residents. You're helping us make really strong improvements for the city. Just tonight, we considered a rezoning request for land that has been locked as parking for decades, even though the Silverdome is long since gone. Regardless of the decision, we're dealing with past issues. We've dealt with and heard a presentation status update on what comes next for the Phoenix Center and Oakland County's move to downtown, recognizing and celebrating Black History Month, approving a contract so we can have more technological detailed mapping for what the city is planning. We approved the contract between the state and the county and the city for the Bagley and Gulf Drive road construction projects and made sure that the city was gets fully reimbursed. We approved the budget amendment for the $5 million grant funding, the contract for salary data so we could be a more competitive employer, contract to improve recruiting for open hiring positions, the scanning of city documents, the budget amendment for purchasing improvements, and then we went into closed session to be able to consider sensitive matters to protect you, the taxpayers, and all of us, the city, from undue legal and financial exposure. That's a lot, and that was just one night's setting, and a lot of work happens in between, so I just want to thank the city council members for being about the business, standing on business, just as District 1's Councilwoman shared, I want to salute Alex. Two snaps in the circle is indeed in order. I want to really salute Alex Borngesser and her years of service to the city of Pontiac when times were especially dark, when she had so much thrown on her. She built up a department. I want to thank Tim Sadowski, the finance director, for his service to the city of Pontiac. Both of them have wonderful career advancement opportunities that they've been presented with and that were a good fit for them. So we are truly wishing them the best and thanking them for being a part of the Pontiac team. For the sake of time, I'll leave it at that. Is there a motion to adjourn? It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilman Rutherford, that we adjourn this evening's meeting. Hearing no discussion, roll call, Clerk Doyle.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.